Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom, but the revamped version. Boop, it is finally here. We're going to be taking on a lot of cool action today. But first, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I got some really good little legend eggs on my client not too long ago. Got that
Ooh.
firecracker jinx. I'm pretty excited about it. But other than that, it's been a day of games. I'm excited to see how these players play it because they're probably gonna do it better than me.
Probably. That's what we pay them for. But let's go ahead and first just introduce the format, because we do have this new Fight Night Rising format. It is Stage 1, 16 players. That's right, we don't have 8 anymore, or just 8. We do have 16 that compete over the course of 3 games initially, where the top 8 players will advance, maintain their points, and then in Stage 2, this top 8 players will then compete in 2 more games with the point values doubled. It'll make it even harder for us to do math here on the broadcast, but that is okay because we avoid that anyway and let the admins do that. But then top 4 do qualify for the next Fight Night Rising next week, where we will bring 12 new players as well to join them. There's just so much, Boop. I mean, 16 players. How do you feel about that?
I mean, like I always say, out with the old, in with the new when it comes to these games. And, the more the merrier is what I like to say. I'm really intrigued to see how our kind of grandfathered in players come in, well, our top 8 from
Yeah.
last week, to see if they're all going to meet again. But we have a pre-stack lobby today, so I'm pretty excited.
That
Two
we
stack
do.
lobbies.
Two
Already
stack
adjusting.
lobbies. I know, it's just, there's so much muscle memory. Actually, like 2 years plus like muscle memory of Fight Night. I gotta just relearn. It's crazy. But let's go ahead and introduce the lobbies. We have 2 of them. Lobby A has a common quail, Hypnoticus, Kuzma, level 1 Ref. Next, the Yunyuki within and Yiggles. And who we got in lobby B, Boo?
We got Asa, Brubrabrahu, Fun to Go, JDCA 2000, K-Pal, TTV, Spetham, Flowy, and Knickknack.
All right, there we go.
Flo V.
16 players. Flo V. There is a V in there. It's tricky. You don't really realize it with those W's. But
Yep.
these players are competing for their share of the Rising prize pool, which is now increased, by the way. We got even more money to give to these players. First place gets $150. Second place gets $75. Third place gets $50, and fourth place gets $25. So there is a bit of a prize pool gap now between third and fourth. Nice little reward there to get a higher placement. And the top 4 return. So no longer just the top 3 return. It is going to be the top 4. So all those, quote unquote TFT winning placements are going to, return and defend their title, or try to, take it away from that first place slot.
Yeah, now that we have like an elimination round, and we're going to have the 16 go into 8 and then get into that last lobby with an extra lobby, we're rewarding the players with a little bit more dollars, but we're also going to be able to see more players week after week with the top 4 coming back. We're already going to be seeing some of them a little more during the games, but I'm really excited to see how, people kind of come back every single week. So these records might be a little bit easier to break in terms of 12 weeks back, and like Gunmay had last, iteration of Fight Night, but it is going to happen, and I'm excited to see which one of these players. We might be seeing one today that is going to break some of these records as we move forward.
I mean, we have 5 games, so definitely, and some point values are doubled for the last 2, so we're going to be seeing some crazy numbers at the end of the day here. It's gonna be like, oh my god, that player like doubled the point score record, but it's just with this new format, it is a-okay. But also something we haven't mentioned yet, Boop, is the fact that we are, in typical Planet fashion, playing on a relatively new patch. It is just the B patch, right? So just some portable forge item choices got a little bit nerfed, and a few champions did, including some Imperial champions, as well as the Imperial trait, because those pesky assassins, Talon and Swain and stuff, were a bit too strong.
They sure were. I think Portable Forge, that was, I think, the easiest one to see coming, but I'm glad that we got the V-patch in, so we got a little bit more of that balance, because it was really close to being a pretty flexible patch, but then after the assassins kind of came in, it was a lot less flexible, and assassins make you play the lobby a certain way, so it's gonna be really interesting to see what we're going to get now that the patch has come through.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And we get to see a much larger sample size than ever before, right? Because we have 2 lobbies. We're going to be watching Lobby A here for game number 1. on perspective with a common Quail, who was, of course, last week's champion. Gonna be looking to defend that title coming into this new Rising format. Starting off with a Camille and a Bow. Bow still seemingly a priority for a lot of these players.
Bow is actually a moderately flexible item when it comes to what you're going to be using it in the early game. Some people still slamming that Shiv, right? It is something that is going to be used early, right? And now you already have direction with the bow, especially if you're going to have some type of attack speed oriented comp. We don't have enough context to like actually slam an item before we get all the items, obviously, and the augment, but it's nice to know that, hey, we're probably going to be an auto attack based type of team comp, or we could still go into the AP direction with that large rod. So, flexibility is the name of the game right now for Common Quail.
Definitely is. We're going to have a Rod now. A couple of Twisted Fates still can go in early Twisted Fate direction, whether it be Syndicate, Arcanist, everything there can be potentially good. Gets a Zac out of an Orb. So pairing that with an Alawi, could see an early Bruiser opener. Nice, standard stuff to do. As now we get the first augment. It's going to be a gold augment, so probably some of the players will get portable forages, but we have Junkyard potential, and that's really, really nice to grab early because you just keep on farming those components from minute one. The problem is for a common Quail, doesn't have any scraps right now, and there was only one in the shop, so maybe feels a bit good about picking the thrill of the hunt instead.
In the old format, we actually probably see the riskier take, but now that there's an elimination, we would always go with the more standard play when it comes to early rounds of tournaments, in my opinion. You're going to want to have recreatable results, and I think we know what we're going to do with that augment. Yiggles has the same one, it looks like, and we were correct because no other scrap came through. Unlike on this board where we have our 2 scraps, but in a couple Yordles, this might be a Yordle start. We got some AP items on the board with a potential jeweled gauntlet, but again, both things not technically solidified in anything just yet.
Yep. Ooh, okay, we did get a couple snipers as well. Misfortune and Tristana. Alawi is a mercenary, but it looks like Yiggles is going to steer clear of the mercenary direction. Couple of gloves. No, people are not really usually willing to go for a Thieves Gloves direction. Yiggles probably won't as well, but Yiggles with Tristana is going to pick up that third Yordle and be printing money through the course of this early game.
Printing money is always good when it comes to TFT and any other economy-based games. But what's really nice here is that it's kind of like predictable on when the money is going to come through. You know that you're going to get 1 to 3 gold per round, so you can kind of plan for that as you play through the game. As Hypnoticus is running with the Duo Talon makeshift armor. So one of these Talons is actually going to be stronger than the other. It's going to be the one without the items. As you can see, he's going to be the last one remaining. But the Yordle is a little bit too strong. Gets wiped on at that round.
Yeah, a couple of Talons. Even though Talon got nerfed, Imperialist got nerfed, we still might see people running with that composition. And I actually do really like that because I think TFT players will often go the extremes in one of 2 directions. It'll be, okay, I'm going to not play this thing ever because it got nerfed. There's no way it can be good anymore. Or, you know what, just because it got nerfed doesn't mean it's, terrible. I'm going to still play it if I have a good opener and lean into it. And, it's still going to be reasonably strong, which I think for Hypnoticus, that was the potential consideration there. And bench is very, very, very full. Might be wanting to sell to make some money here, but hey, at least a pair of Talons is here.
At least, right? And that should be able to take down a couple units. It wasn't enough for the Yordles beforehand, but now that we've got a couple assassins in that back line, we're actually going to win out this round. It's just a Singed, and the Singe should be going down here pretty quickly. And just to kind of reiterate what you just said and piggyback off of what you mentioned, I remember there was a fight night not too long ago where someone purposely played units from the previous patch and won 2 lobbies because a lot of people just kind of go onto the lifeboat boats and go when it comes to some of these changes. But especially with B patches, it's usually because things are overtuned. So B patches, I think, are kind of where you can run similar things like the Talon. It might not be as overwhelmingly strong, but you're still going to have top 4 potential with it. It really is kind of just reframing your approach.
Definitely. Players think it's going to be some kind of Titanic situation. It's like, oh, we got to get off this ship. But no, it's really just a small hole. They'll patch it up, and yeah, it's still good to go, right? You're still going to be able to actually have some value there and utilize it. But see what Hypnoticus is going to do. We do have Samira in, a couple of challengers, now Shaco for the secondary assassin, 2 out of 3 Imperials, so just needs to find a Swain, which was going to be pretty easy at level 4 to do. He's going to go against level 1 Raph, though, who has level to 5 pre-stage 2 carousel, really wanting to make sure this win streak carries through.
It looks like it's going to do just that. We've got the Bruiser Lissandra. Lissandra always good with tank items, especially getting to a first or second ultimate. You really like things like Morello's on her, but if you're lacking a little bit of a front line and you want to add a splash of damage to it, the Lissandra is a pretty good use of that. And we got that tier 2 Trundle too, so this is a pretty strong comp from level 1 Raft that we're seeing right now. I don't really
100%.
see that losing harshly. If it does, it's probably going to win through quite a bit unless we don't get stronger units. We do have to tier 2 some of those units like that Singe.
Yeah, Hypnoticus could have potentially tier 2 this Talon if there wasn't already a bow on one of the Talons, because grabbing that sword obviously would make a Giant Slayer, but you want things like RFC and Infinity Edge instead. Maybe a little bit of a misstep, especially with that makeshift armor to put the bow on the first Talon. Maybe trying to opt for enough, damage, make sure you guaranteed kill a unit or two. Might come back to bite them a little bit. Moving over to Nexthy. We have a couple of rods on the bench. Ionic Spark Slam could theoretically happen. Just rocking some Innovators in the early game. And Innovators think it's a comp that can still, go all the way through to the late game, assuming you're able to get, 7 Innovators, maybe even sometimes 5 Innovators, and like a makeshift kind of board can still be kind of solid. Even with the Seraphine recent nerfs.
The interesting thing about Innovators specifically is that if you get 7, you're gonna top 4, right? So if you're able to get that chase, you're gonna be able to get there. But the 5 is gonna be a little bit more interesting. What's really cool with things like Innovators is augments like Stand United become pretty strong with comps like that. There's gonna be a lot of 2 splashes in that comp. So just determining by what augments are going to be coming through might determine if we're going to stay with the Innovators. We do have the outline of it already, which is the Caitlyn through the Enforcer. We got the Scrap as well, and this is going to be the opening for the Innovator comp, which used to be a comp that you can slam 5 Innovators literally on the first round of the, of the lobby, but now it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But the sooner you hit 5, the sooner you're going to get that value, and the better you're going to be in the late game, as you do fall off a little bit. But again, the 7 Innovators is a really great goal, but you are going to need some help from the game to get there.
Definitely. I like that little thought from Nexty there that we could kind of see him working through with moving these units around, was considering selling up to 30 gold because Nexty lost that last round. Winning this round isn't going to be really that valuable, or a lot more valuable than winning. Sure, you save a little bit of HP, but that is about it. The Talon, it looks like, from Hypnoticus does have an RFC. If it's able to get the job done here.
Yeah, tier 1 Talon doing tier 2 things. We'll see if it's going to be able to clean up the rest of the board, because the tanks on the other side are going to be pretty hard to get through. And a beautiful Zillion Bomb there, keeping that Talon at bay. Does take down a couple units, though, so could have been a really bad loss, but instead it's going to be just a good one.
Yeah, and also imagine if that was a tier 2 Talon, probably would have won the matchup, even though it wouldn't have had an RFC in that situation. But nice Zillion Bomb dissuades anything there. Moving on over to level 1 Raft. That is going to be our 4 Bruiser player. Already started the game off with a Bruiser emblem, and I know a lot of players have been pretty vocal about, with this B patch, they think Lissandra should have been nerfed as well. She is very strong, and especially with these synergies that level 1 Raft has here on the board. So much HP with the Bruiser, so much utility and damage with her ults combined with the Morellos. This is just such a strong board. No wonder that Raft is the only player still at 100 HP.
And what's actually really interesting about this is that it's the same board that we saw a couple rounds ago, just with the Morello's difference, and we're still at 100 HP. That's how strong we are right now. We're going to get even potentially stronger here as we get a second opportunity for Morello's. You're not going to do that, but we do have AP direction here with the Archangels that did get nerfed not too long ago, but can still be really good to help get some of the later round power into some of these units. And looks like we're at least hovering the tier, but it's still just a tier 1 Lissandra, but it does have a Bruiser emblem, so it's going to be around for a bit.
Here we go. That does mean the Archangels on this Lissandra. I think the extra HP makes it not really as necessary to have like a GA or something on this Lissandra. It's going to be fine with what she has. She'll be ulting herself just based off of a percentage of HP, but still carrying a sword and belt on the bench. Not going to make anything with those for now. Doesn't want to slam a Z because that's not going to be great with this composition. But yeah, as you mentioned, we do know it's going to be AP in some way, shape, or form. And for Kuzma, it's looking like the same with that Shojin and Morelos as well.
And so Morello's always going to be a pretty great item for most AP champions with AoE. So seeing it on something like Malzahar is a little interesting, but the way that Malzahar works is just adds a little bit more damage to that dot and can actually spread that ultimate across the board a little bit quicker, though you are going to be losing that kind of AoE value that someone like Lissandra is going to be giving you with that Morello's. As a level 1 Raft and the rest of the top 3 still winning out is Unyuki now is going to be who we're riding along with, and it looks like we potentially were going innovators with this comp, but we're still in a pretty flexible direction, though. When we hit round 3-2, that's when players need to start kind of pushing a certain way, and with a Seraphine, that's going to be a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, a little bit, especially because it gives the 3 innovators. Seraphine's is a good unit in general. I'm going to be playing Yordles as well to print some money. Blue buff going on Tristana. Obviously not a fantastic item for her, but all you really have right now. It's not really great to anybody else if you don't want to commit it to the Ziggs. But it is going to go up against the talent who is now tier 2'd from Hypnoticus. And what do you know? It's going to be a Scion as well. Actually, a lot of gold rolled that turn, looks like, for Hypnoticus. Only has 10 there in the reserves. And still might lose the round. It's close into this Ezreal. And oh, one more Ziggs bomb can do it. And yes, he'll get it off. There we go. Ziggs finishing that round. Hypnoticus still losing.
That's a brutal loss for Hypnoticus. Whenever you invest and lose, it is not good. You know, sometimes you don't want to look too much into a loss, but in that situation, it's like spending all your gold at 4-1 and then losing, right? It is kind of the same thing at 3-2. It is a roll down round, 3-1 and 3-2, but you got to win it if you're going to roll down, and we didn't. So we're a whole round behind on economy, and that's going to build up in a bad way, unfortunately, for Hypnoticus, unless we are able to compensate in a different way, which is we start to win streak, or we start getting our units at a discounted rate, which means that we're not rolling as much for our high tiered units.
Yeah, exactly. On the kind of reverse side, or almost reverse side, Unyuki did roll a little bit. Just didn't roll that much. Rolled until they hit the Seraphine, then said, okay, that's good enough. Stopped, and already is back to 50 gold, still holding a Janna on the bench, who, like we say it every time, Janna is one of those units that you just fit into every single composition. This is probably going to stick around and wanting to run it on level 7, but it does depend if Unyuki gets a, say, the third augment choice is like Innovator, Innovator Soul, or even just Innovator Emblem. He could be going for that 7 Innovator direction. I feel like we're hyper-focusing on Innovators, but, you know, they're strong, so if you have the opportunity, you're probably going to go for it.
Yeah, and we have Metabolic Accelerator, so we can kind of play a weak board for longer because of that. Even though we're not going to be getting our HP back from PvE rounds, it's still going to be a ton of HP each round. Think about it right now, right? Even if we got it on the last augment, we've already gotten, what, 4 to 6 HP that's going to keep us in the running, and together with the rest of the leaderboard as we beat out Kuzma, who is returning from last week in that round. But 68 HP is actually a pretty good place to be at 3-4. Not anything that you need to, you know, freak out about. No, none of these players really at that point just yet. Kuzma the closest, obviously, but none of these players absolutely bottoming out right now.
No, we've seen, like, you know, remember in the Jose Paulo, like, Nocturne Assassin weeks, he'd be like 30-something HP right now, and roll it down on literally this next coming up turn, stabilize and be fine. So Kuzma is still the lowest, but not really in any great danger yet. A couple of players running the Arcanist, excuse me, Common Quail being one of them. Move back over to his board. There we go. Gets a Darius upgrade. We got a couple of Syndicates. Doesn't have the third Syndicate, which, you know, a bit unfortunate, but all in all, it is fine.
Classic AP opening with the Static Shiv Morellos. What's very interesting about it is, while that's really good for all AP openings, you can fit that combo into a couple different kinds of boards. You know, a Static Shiv user that's not necessarily or isn't AP, and if it's your only choice at the time, I think is Kog'Maw is a really great option. Urgot is a nice consulary option for a unit like that, or item like that. As we're going over this Malzahar, unfortunately, is still a Malzahar 1. We've been seeing it hanging around for a bit. We'll see if it's going to be a little bit better on this particular round, as the ultimate is starting to spread around. It's going to be up to this Twisted Fate to get through, and it looks like it will, as my Twisted Fates in Summoner's Rift and on the Convergence never do that.
Yeah, no, that was some good clutch TF cards. paired with the thrill of the hunt healing allowed a common quill to get that round win. It's very interesting because we did see Kuzma with that Taric 2 with the Arcanist emblem losing 2 rounds in a row. That generally won't happen if you have a solid comp to pair with it in stage 3, but just barely losing 2 fights back to back. We see the Yordles, the Arcanists on that board. I mean, Yordles make it a bit weaker, I suppose, but you know, you are again printing some money. Kuzma not too unhappy about it, is going to be very rich as we go into stage 4. Common Quill doing a great job at scouting all the other boards, and we even saw a Cho'Gath too on one of the boards with a Protector emblem. That's interesting. And,
oh, here
we go
it
against
is
it right now. Yeah.
Oh man, TFT players, you know, we have nightmares about a lot of things. This is one of them. In my opinion, this is just one of those comps that can get out of control. And it looks like we've got some really good stacking on the Cho'Gath already. So this is going to be pretty brutal. I wonder what the third item's going to be. But even with the extra damage on the AP-oriented units, we could lose this. But look at this. It's the Protector spat coming into play. And we're going to lose it. But think about how much worse it would have been if we didn't have that spat.
Yeah, definitely would have been a bit worse there. Probably 2, maybe 4 more damage even, and all that adds up. Right? You want to be able to use your HP as a resource, but not just throw it away. You need to get as good of wins or losses every single round. Very, very important. But I would be curious to see if that Cho'Gath gets tier 3'd, especially with the augment choice there, the evolution, going to be, you know, getting stats per, you know, getting tier 2'd. We'll see what comes through there later on in the game. Cho'Gath was one of the units that was nerfed coming into this patch. Actually, the armor and MR went down by 5. The attack speed went down by 0.05. So they really Riot just hates Colossus units, it seems. Doesn't want Clapio, doesn't want Cho'Gath to be too powerful. They just want to keep him down.
I think you've uncovered it. You better lock your doors today, because Riot might be coming in and being like, "How dare you? How did you know it was Colossus that we were targeting specifically to take out of this game?"
Maybe I read the last 5 patches in a row, and
I know, right?
A pattern there.
Yeah, your tea leaves doing some work. But I mean, I think it's a good thing though, because the way that Cho'Gath works, the biggest resource that it should have is HP. If you give someone like Cho'Gath too much armor or too much magic resist, it just doesn't ever die. We've already been in a meta like that, so you have to nerf those things in order for Cho'Gath to both agree to his fantasy, which is kind of like an HP, like an insane HP getter, versus, you know, just a generalized tank. So now you're going to be a lot more goal-oriented in terms of getting those stacks off, making sure that the HP is there, and you're going to have to build those defensive items as well.
Yeah, Nexty is very rich. He's going to be able to go to level 8 on 4-2 with over 30 gold to roll with. This is very, very nice. Probably wants to hit those Yones, however. Like, it wants to be a challenger composition. That Morellis is already there for a potential Kaisa, and yes, the challengers are going in. Nexty is committing to this direction. A little bit slow on putting all the units that he wants actually on the board, and some of that time is going to be taken away from rolling. Yeah, finds a Fiora.
Oh, it matters. It actually matters. So, you know, we kind of meme about it a little bit, but mouse intention is actually super important. It shows a lot of what is going on in a player's mind, and you got to see it like right front and center on this particular board. Is there wasn't a ton of intention. There's a lot of just questioning, and we don't get one of the strongest challengers on the board because of that. So we lose out by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, and we potentially lose out on a whole placement because of that. So now we're 1 round behind. You never know. Yeah, Fiora's not going to change that round in particular, but maybe 1 or 2 units, right? And at this point in the game, you got to squeeze out as many resources as possible.
Definitely. That's very interesting. Next, the left a full completed item onto the bench so I could reroll with Pandora's, and it did go into a Banshee's Claw. It wouldn't be terrible if not for the fact that Yone already has a Quicksilver, so it's very anti-value. Fiora 2 is already upgraded, but we're not finding any Yones. A bit unfortunate being able to go level 8 with a lot of gold on 4-2 and still not hit that 1 Yone that he needed.
Yeah, what a classic Yone experience, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
How many of us have been here where we have the Fiora, we have the 6 challenges, and we're still rocking our Yone 1, but it could still be enough. Here, the Yone is getting some good damage on it, but it's going to be the Swain to take it down. And this is a TF that we saw a little earlier, now with a Giant Slayer, so it looks like we're committing for a little bit longer on the Twisted Fate. And a Twisted Fate winning around at 4-3 is, you know, not unprecedented, but something that you don't see very often.
It is kind of classic TF. It's like all the stage 4 matches are a little bit 50-50s. Like you're probably going to win straight through stage 2 and 3, or at least not take that much damage. You can go level 8 with a very, very comfortable amount of HP and roll it down, hit everything you want, because you're going to have like, what, 50, 60 gold to roll with, and probably will do that on 4-5. It was a common quail, I believe. And yeah, still 68 HP, second in the lobby. Level 1 Raft is somehow still win streaking, by the way. That is very impressive to do.
Well, the original level 1 Raft comp was really good with the Lissandra. We got a bunch of not tier 3, we got 3 cost units really early on, but eventually the lobby is supposed to get even. It's going to be at 5-1 where the game kind of forces that to happen, as we have another TF player here, this one with the IEJG. This anytime you see those 2 items, it is probably a Lux direction. We do have perfect Lux items. We got a little bit of extra power from the Socialite as well. Those items will be going on Lux along with the 2 tiers. Now what will be going along with it is, again, that intention not quite there.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that as well. Yiggles, I feel like Yiggles is actually pretty good at making these transitional turns happen, so it's a bit slower than what we would expect. You know, not sitting on a pair of Luxes, I don't think is like that, you know, doomed. I think it probably, the board would have been similar strength anyway, but, you know, still, it matters. Might end up winning this round just because the board has gotten to a very strong point late, right? Like, look at these synergies. 4 Arcanist, 3 Enchanter, having some Scrap and Scholar splashed in there as well, as Yordle still getting this Econ. Is we're actually 1 Ziggs away from a Ziggs 3. Just had to get through this Cho'Gath, and I mean, the Lux went down, but still should be able to. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, that attack speed nerf showing up hard there. I don't know if you noticed that, but
yeah.
Definitely affected, as we do have a Prismatic 2 Arcanist spats. We know that one's going to go on Kaisa, most likely. A little later. Where's the other one going to go? We just got 3 Seraphines. Not a bad Arcanist user, but we're going to... The game really wants you to pick the Seraphine,
doesn't want to run it.
But doesn't want to run it. There's that Lux, though.
And Victor. What are we going to replace, though? Arcanist Tarek. Yeah, of course. Makes a lot of sense. Arcanist on Janna. Sure. Could have put it on, like, Zyra, but this is still very fine. What does Eagles do with this board, I think, is the main question, because there's still some units that we might want to run, right? Like Orianna over something. Could consider dropping a couple of the weaker Arcanists, right? Could consider dropping that Swain and that Ziggs, but might not end up actually doing that.
This is interesting because this is a very thin board. There's not a very good front line right now, so it's going to all be up to that first Lux Ultimate, which we do get a reset on. Got a second reset, and it does look like the Lux is going to be enough here. So Lux has been absolutely terrifying me in my ladder games, so this is just giving me anger upon anger. Because if you build this item direction, the IEJG blue buff, I mean, you're going to compete for top 4 no matter what, if you have over 20 HP, right? And we're exactly there for Yiggles. Now, Yiggles needs the rest of the lobby to be a lobby of a bunch of Yordle players, for example, or challengers like you just saw, units that Lux can one-hit effectively. You did see the Cho'Gath show a little bit of struggle for the Lux, and so what we really need to make sure, if you're Yiggles fans, is hope that she doesn't run into other super high HP, super high armor, and magic resist. Armor doesn't really matter, but magic resist units.
Yeah. Or assassins, but yeah, assassins have been nerfed, so it's going to be less likely to run into those, because they do a great job at, you know, cleaning up the Lux very quickly before she gets multiple casts off. A lot of items came through there for Yiggles. See what she ends up making a bit later on. We do have one player going for that Talon Assassin. It's going to be Hypnoticus. They were going from it since literally stage 2, round 2-1. Still Scion 1, however, no frontline items for him. It is basically how much work can this Talon do, because that frontline is almost non-existent. all the Talon show.
Oh, we got pretty good positioning here. So the Oriana's not going to be long. Oh, unless Blitzkrieg makes her live a little bit longer. But the Talon's going to have to do everything here, and Talon literally doesn't attack fast enough to beat out this comp, in my opinion. So we needed to get through that Oriana to at least help us get on a roll, but we had to disengage aggro. There was some targeting things there, and that's the risk when it comes to those assassins, right? That's always been the risk, but the RFC not quite helping as much as I think Hypnotic has wanted as we move all the way up to level 8 at 5-2, around late, some people might say, to try to find some other units. Still no other Colossus, because apparently, you know, everyone is, you know, undercover hating on the Colossus.
Yeah, apparently so. Cyan was one of the ones that was very good for a while. It's interesting to note that Talon did get hit by 3 separate nerfs, at least with that build going to this patch. It was just the Talon spell damage, the Imperial damage for him, and the RFC getting nerfed as well, all have an impact here. So you're seeing some differences in fights you expect Talon to win. Yeah, that will be why.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you gotta be able to do the damage, and when you can't do enough damage, the damage is going to be done to you, right? And now we've got really good itemized Fioras on the board, so the Talon can't necessarily eat those ultimates either. So as an assassin, you're giving yourself some vulnerability by jumping into the back line, possibly, but Talon's going to be even more vulnerable because you got to keep him alive. And if he gets bursted down, then on this board, literally 85-90% of the damage goes away once Talon does.
You know, just more conversation on this comp specifically. I did mention earlier that, like, I liked, you know, Hypnoticus going this Talon direction, and I will stick by that, right? It's not working out this game, but at least you know that for the future, right? You know that even with an early game, great position to run this Talon composition, it's still a bit lackluster, and with this new Fight Night format, you just need to be in the top 8 after 3 games to get to the next stage, and you can still get that with a couple, you know, games 2 and 3 just being decently good, right? You only need to place a bit above average. Is not as much of a concern when it comes to having one bad game comparatively to other TFT tournaments potentially.
And once again, same issue when it comes to the Talon, not enough damage. Itemization might need to be a little bit better the next time if we do see this run, as we actually have 2 eliminations there, as Nextly also gets eliminated. Kuzma, who was in 8th place most of that game, now fighting for higher placements. It's the Common Quail that's going to stay on fire. That Twisted Fate comp, putting in the work.
Very much so. Crazy. Common Quail is now win streaking. You know, it's a little economy that you get from running an early game TF that's very strong. As we see these little legends zoom across the carousel with their metabolic accelerators. It's always fun to see that. I still love it.
Khroen, I don't think performance-enhancing drugs are something to say is fun.
Oh, okay. My bad. Are we supposed to...
These little legends are doping, and we need to get the International Little Legend Doping Association on the case, okay? Because this is not okay.
You know, maybe for 6.5, they will take away Metabolic Accelerator. You know, it's just a bit... They've seen these little legends delving into some things that they should not be.
Oh, man, there's going to be an asterisk in all those record books for these little legends.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some beefy boys up there. So we do have that Scion, who is finally pretty beefy. We have the Urgot, which is kind of one of the more consistent comps throughout the set. You lock in Urgot with good items, you're going to compete for good placements. Here it's going to be 6 Bruisers, 5 Chemtechs, and it's still that Lysandra. We did win our last round, but we were on a pretty rough loss streak before then, and now is just the time where the damage is here, right? We're already seeing what Talon earlier. Now the same concept could be here for this particular team, which is how much damage can be done at once, and now it's a lot. Especially with the twin shots, right? Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, who says Jinx can't carry?
Some players do. I don't agree. I think Jinx is fine, especially when you're able to be in a situation like that, where you go fast level 9, you find Jinx 2 even before your Urgot, which sure, doesn't happen often, but if it does, don't count out your Jinx. Don't just not put Ems in your Jinx because, you know, she's not a quote-unquote great carry. Eagles finally get 6-3, by the way.
Okay, so Kuzma does fall in 6th place. We have our top 5. Pretty big lead for level 1 Raft. Raft can lose the next 4 rounds in a row and still probably finish in the top 4. 49 gold, so we're still, economy-wise, feeling pretty good. These are wins that we don't necessarily even need at the moment. This one we do to get to 50 gold, but the wins beforehand are just, more money in the bank for us to last longer in a potential 1v1 scenario against someone like a Common Quail, who has been alternating wins and losses. So that really just goes to show how much more even the power level is in this lobby.
Up against Yuki now, who has a very nice AP-based backline composition. It's actually going to be really good at taking out that Jinx. Heimerdinger, don't count him out as well, especially with the Seraphine, Orianna, Janna, all of that utility there in the backline. That's why these compositions, this AP kind of flex style is still very, very strong. It does a deceptive amount of damage as well as just being so survivable. And that's really the key thing there.
All right, Hand of Justice probably going on the Urgot. We have 58 gold, and we can go to level 10.
Yep, let's level up.
And we have the time, so we definitely have the ability to get there because we have such a big lead across the rest of the lobby. That lead is starting to fall. Someone like Yiggles, especially with that Lux, is going to take down at least 50% of your team on one ultimate, right? It's all about getting to the Lux instead. We have a Reforger too, so if we want to take some of these items off of a unit, potentially that Jinx, right? We can, but we're probably going to be reforging the Chalice, or maybe not. You never know.
No. At least not right now. Has Pandora's, that's why the Hodge turned into the Chalice, of course. Wasn't thinking that Hodge was good enough for the Urgot, which, honestly, I was thinking it was pretty solid, right? Definitely not a bad item by any means. But level 1 Raft just wants to cap out as strong as they can be, and you can afford to be that greedy with 60 HP and being able to go to level 10 like he's doing. Actually, a phenomenally played game when you consider the early game position and, giving it your all, making sure your HP is a resource, making sure that you understand how strong your comp is, so you're not over-rolling or things like that. These rounds might be some losses, and going up against Within, that Jhin in the backline is not being pressured at all. The Jinx is stuck on the Cho'Gath, and that's redemption as the final item for the Cho'Gath. He is just not dying. Wow.
The double locket roll on the Scion was actually pretty insane as well. And level 1 Raft, interested to see his reaction there, because it was just, I didn't expect him to lose by that much. Cho'Gath is really strong, but Giant Slayer usually equals enough damage, especially after that Jinx ult. But we have some more 5-cost units popping in. The Urgot is at tier 2, so that should help out.
As a Kai'Sa now as well, could consider selling that Lissandra. Maybe not now when she's tier 2 and the Kai'Sa is only tier 1, but maybe once the Kai'Sa gets to that tier 2 state. The Common Quail has lost the last few rounds, and I mean, the Yone items are a little bit scuffed. If your items are good though, can they get into the backline of Yuki and take it out?
Does not look like it.
No.
That is a hard no. A precipitous fall from the top of the lobby for a Common Quail, but 5th place is pretty good to start for Quail. He tends to do pretty similarly from the first lobby, so I'm actually okay with the 5th place at this point. We only have 2 more lobbies to go. This is the matchup I am really interested in, especially to see the Cho'Gath versus the Lux here, because is it possible, right? Is it possible for this Lux to get through units like that Cho'Gath? We have help with the resets to get at least a couple ultimates onto them before it really starts to get onto us, and it doesn't look like the Lux was enough. This Cho'Gath, especially with the Protector, working with a lot more health than what is listed, which is already listed on the HP bar, but overtime could actually be the saving grace for some of our lobby when it comes to some of these bigger units.
Ziggs bomb whiffs, because that's what Ziggs does.
Get him off the free throw line.
Really? Someone has to teach this Yordle how to shoot. It's just not working. But going up against that matchup for the Lux v Cho'Gath, if this Socialite Hex was backlined, or if Yiggles just ditches the Socialite Hex and the Lux was protected a lot more, say by, the Lulu being in front of it and things like that as well, It might have enough time to get through the Cho'Gath and others, but with the position as it is, not really happening.
I was thinking the exact same thing. That is, if we just abandon the Socialite Square here, the Lux actually gets stronger. This is a pretty good setup for the Lux. We should get a good amount. Oh, actually, we only get the Kaisa, but that should be good enough. Actually, that's a lot of damage off the board. Now the second damage dealer is going to be the Urgot. Beautiful ult from the Janna. We get a good one from the Lux, too. Now the resets are here, and once again, the Socialite Hex might have been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, Jinx is able to get into the backline, take out stuff. I mean, that is a tier 2 Tahm Kench with Chemtech as well. Level 1 Raft has just made this board so strong. Narrowly doesn't take out Yiggles, but she is on 4 HP. Has gone to top 4 though, so already not bad. Another Chemtech potential emblem. A couple of spatulas. A couple of AP items, as well as attack speed.
Literally nobody knows what they want.
Yeah.
So
it's like, I guess I'll grab this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, at that point you're like, do I just complete an item component? But it's going to be blue buff here. It's probably going to be going on the likes. There's actually a couple units that it could go on, but the Orianna might find their way onto the board. Lux 3 is a win condition, and we have enough gold to roll into it, so we just need 3 more. Just 3 more Luxes. Just 2 more now. Just 1 more Lux.
Wait a minute.
You ask and you shall receive.
3 seconds.
Nothing.
One more Vex.
Mouse intention.
Oh. Not there.
Oh,
and
this is a winnable matchup, though. This is a winnable matchup.
It is winnable. The Lux gets shrouded. The Lux is also relatively safe from getting, you know, a Heimerdinger pressured and from Seraphine ulted, so I think this is going to be okay for Yiggles if she can get more Lux casts off, gets the healing from the Thrill. Oh. Big laser there.
Satisfying. That's why Lux is a cool champion. All right. And we did get the 3-star Lux. Yiggles now competing for the lobby. That Lux 3 can take down the Cho'Gath. Still don't know if we put it in the Socialite Hex, but now we've got the completed itemization for the Urgot. These are 4 very strong boards so far. Onyuki now with the 5 innovators and a splash of a lot of other things going to be pushing into the back line, but really it's the Urgot and the Jinx. The Urgot's still alive, which means the hope is still alive for level 1, and we might be getting there. Rune and Circuit's a pretty good item on this champ, huh?
So close yet so far away for Yoon Yuki. Urgot being the last one alive. That fight actually is really surprising for it to be quite that close.
Cho'Gath is gone.
Yeah, within also falls the Cho'Gath. Provided a lot of excitement to this point, but is no more. Almost got like top 2, right? It was only like 7 HP away. If Yiggles had one more fight, you know, rotation being different, it'd been a completely different story. But now we have level 1 Raft being level 10. 10 units on the board. Not sure this is going to lose, but it is like up against Lux 3 actually, so I will take that back immediately. Lux 3 will just one-shot everything.
Yep. It's all about positioning now for level 1 Raft. Cheeky Lissandra ult can do it, but the unfortunate thing about level 1 Rafts is while we have a lot of units, not a ton of them, it can actually get to the back line, which is where we need to be for the Lux. So we need a very good Kaisa ultimate. We need a pretty early Jinx ultimate, in my opinion. And if Yuumi is able to CC the Lux, that's best case scenario.
This Zephyr is such a good roll from that Pandora's, actually. Level 1 Raft had a very obvious reaction to that one. Very, very happy about it. Does Yiggles identify this and move the Lux away? Yes, she does, but it's still going to get Zephyred because level 1 Raft just had it on the bench.
I'm glad that we got off the Socialite Hex. It seems like we were going to get Zephyr no matter what in that situation. And so now we just got to get it going. You're already seeing a lot of the damage go through. Oh, I have seen Janna push people out of that ultimate before. So we avoid something absolutely tragic. The Lux should have this no problem at this point. I just, again, don't really see how we get to the Lux if you are level 1 Raft. 4 HP to 3 HP, though. What an awesome start to the new Fight Night.
It is. How you get to the Lux, it has to be the Jinx. Jinx cannot be picked off by Lux ultimate. She has to be on the same side as Lux ults diagonally, and she has to find her way, jump into the back line. Zephyr actually was, sold the Kaisa just to make sure to recycle this Zephyr. think it's going to be good, but is it good enough? Not a lot of time to scout there. Doesn't even move the Urgot, and okay.
Shroud misses.
Shroud misses.
All right, we
How's
are going
Zephyr
to
the
get
Lux,
the Zephyr. We won the last time we Zephyred the Lux, but the Lux is in a little bit of a precarious position. Swain doing some MVP things, getting a full ream of health with one ultimate, allowing this Lux to start getting those ultimates up, and Jinx is doing exactly what she needed to do! And the Jinx needs to start popping off, but too much damage has been done, and Yiggles will take that first lobby. Lux 3, we said, was the win condition. Yiggles heard us, and she made it happen, and we get that first lobby win for Yiggles.
And that's a very, very important lesson on, the conversation of, do I go level 9 or do I roll for some 3 stars? Yiggles rolling for 3 stars there was the literal reason that she won that game. Even with level 1 refs, amazing opener. I think played that game super, super well. It's just Yiggles rolling to that tier 3. Sometimes you get lucky, call it what you will, but played it just a little bit better.
I totally agree. And, we stuck with the direction, and that is something that probably is available most games, is that Lux direction. And it seems like these players have a pretty easy time finding the items that they need when it comes to the blue buffs, when it comes to the JGs, the Jewel Gauntlets, and the Infinity Edges. And Yiggles was able to accomplish everything they needed in a top 4 that was, had lobby winning compositions in it for, I think, 3 of those players. So really good work from the Lux and Yiggles.
Great work. But let's see what happened in the other lobby, at least in terms of the scores there, as we're going to take a look at the whole scoreboard. There's something new for us, Boop, with so many numbers on our screen now, but we know that Yiggles won lobby A, but it looks like JDCA won lobby B, with Asa taking second.
And so Issa, that should be probably one of the more recognizable names that we're seeing here, but it's still anyone's game on any of these lobbies, right? We still have 2 more lobbies to go before we make our first elimination, but these are the rest of the scores here. And I'm really looking for someone like a Common Quail to try to come back. A 5th versus a 4th is super impactful now. That extra point that you get all of a sudden has an insane amount of value, more value than it did before. So we're definitely going to need some top 4s out of our 5th through 8th places. And while that's obvious, right, it really determines on what kind of play style you're going to be going for. Are you going to try to go for that lobby win? You might eliminate yourself in 8th place, but you could still get all those points that you need, or are you going to go with that top 4 approach? It's up to you.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit different now as we go into this new Fight Night Rising format, but players have a few minutes to decompress and be able to decide which direction they want to go. We'll be right back in a few minutes with more Fight Night Rising, but stay tuned for game number 2. Welcome back to Fight Night Rising, brought to you by Wisdom. So Khroen and Boop here, bringing you the action. We've only had one game so far. We're used to saying, you know, okay, 2 games down, 2 to go, but no, we have 4 more to go, Boop. So much action today, and we only got to see half of it. The next game we'll be jumping into Lobby B, where you'll see a whole new 8 players and see their approach on this new B patch and on this meta.
We already saw Lux take the first lobby, so I wonder if AP is going to be the name of the game moving forward. As once we got Lux 3, most of the times when you see Lux 3, it wasn't going to be an issue, but against those comps, it really just was absolutely dominant. There was no problem whatsoever for Yiggles and that first lobby win for them. But we're going to be going to the second lobby now, which is going to be a totally different set of players before we get to our top 8 after the third lobby. But Khroen, we've got some recognizable names here.
Now we do. I think Asa jumps out for sure. Asa also mentioned, I saw in chat there, died with 8 Yones to get second place. So unfortunately couldn't pull off the Yiggles style to, you know, get that tier 3 forecast, because those are pretty good. Were there any other ones that, you know, stand out to you besides for Asa here? Because Asa's definitely the one for me.
I'm actually looking looking forward to watch Flovey, and you know, we got Knick-Knack in here as well. So there are a couple players that again don't have the most recognizable names, but definitely have the ability. And when I look at you know, random streams, because something I'll do is like go into TFT and then go to the last page, for example, and look at people, just to kind of pop in and see what people are like.
Yeah,
and you know, that's how I find some of these players. And I think that regardless of number of viewers or how well known you are, the best players can come from any type of background. So I'm really excited to see those names really pop up and try to make a name for themselves, because it's going to be a little harder in a group of 16 people versus 8, because there have been a lot of people who've come out of Fight Night, and we say it all the time, and I think it's good to kind of rehash it on the first one back in a while, that, you know, kind of made a name for themselves here. They dominated at Fight Night, and then they continued to play well in some higher tournaments, and now their streams are getting bigger, their results are getting better, and they're on, you know, power rankings at the moment. So there's a lot of potential. It's all about grabbing it, and anytime you're here at Fight Night, you have the ability to grab that potential.
There you go. As we do get on into game number 2 in Lobby B, on board with Asa, coming off of a very, very nice recent Challenger Series win, I believe. Talking about players going from different backgrounds, Asa comes from a poker background, played competitive poker, I believe for about 10 years, was it? It was a long time, I think. So Asa certainly knows how to crunch some numbers and how to mitigate variance. That is a big thing, I think. A lot of translatable skills. Asa does it very, very well.
Yeah, poker, a lot of people say, is an RNG type of game, right? Very similar to something like TFT, but the same people tend to do the best at a lot of these tournaments, and Asa can definitely represent that, as we did do really well at Challenger Series. As we look at our augments, lifelong learning is a fun augment, but the second you pick it, no scholars will show up.
Already has Zyra.
But we'll see which ones go after that. I had a really fun lifelong learning game with Zyra, and I had 2 static shivs and a rage blade. That was super fun.
Ooh. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time, Khroen. But it's going to be a Celestial Blessing, and whenever you have any confusion on what to grab, especially for your first augment, just go with the most generalized one.
Yep, that's gonna be Celestial Blessing. Healing, always good, right? You're never going to pass up on just some free. It's basically just like battle stats. Healing means, you know, you're gonna have more life, you're gonna have more time to work with for units to deal damage. All that good stuff. Is Asa picks up a couple more components here. We have a rod. We have a cloak as well to go along with a tier. Still no third Yordle, but that's okay. The tier is going to stay on the Poppy as these frontliners both get upgraded. This is going to be a good start for Asa, no matter what he kind of rounds that out with.
Oh, we got quad scrap already here. So that's going to be a shield to start with. And both the Ziggs and the Ezreal are going to get items from that. Interestingly enough, I actually think 3 people will get items, so you could put the gloves on the Blitzcrank, but that doesn't seem to be the want right now. Look at how enormous, oh my goodness, enormous those shields are, along with the locket roll. Oh my goodness.
That is big, and not a great roll on the Ezreal, just a Quicksilver, but, you know, still going to be okay. And going to be a round win, I think, regardless, going up against PayPal. You just need the Ziggs to throw some more bombs out there. Ezreal's going to get the damage out eventually. Early game Ezreal with no like real offensive items. It just feels like he tickles.
Yeah,
he really does.
He's actually throwing string at you, just yarn going every which way is what it feels like, especially since it was an Ezreal 1. I wonder how long we stick with Scrap for, because that's always been the thing with Scrap for, is how long you stay with it, right? Because you can get some pretty good units in Scrap, for example. I mean, we have a 5-cost Scrap in Jinx, the non-carry, but the big thing here is that, like, how do you get over it? How do you get out of it, right? We saw that it can be super strong, especially in the early game. It's really hard for Force Scrap to lose at this point. Just the shielding is just enough HP for a lot of round wins, especially against teams like this, where we already have a numbers advantage. Now we have an HP advantage as well.
Numbers advantage, HP advantage, item advantage. All the advantages are here off the back of Scrap. Up against some fortunate matchups as well. Matchups that you're probably not going to lose just because they are only on level 3. Lowy probably going to consider making Econ there. Yeah, sells a couple of units, makes 10. Let's see, JDCA is not going to make 10. Instead, just buy up units on the bench, but, you know, that is a-okay. Talking about when you do pivot out of Scrap, some players will actually say never. There's been some times, even in some very high stakes tournaments recently, like, you know, Challenger Series, like the Zon Cup, where players just play 6 Scrap the whole game and go Tom Kench to farm just more components, right? Maybe you go binary, things like that, so you can like binary and then get like 3 complete items for like 1.5, only having them on the actual units. A lot of neat things you can do with running Scrap.
I totally agree. There's some really fun augment choices that you can do running Scrap as well, and you already mentioned one of them, but you can also do the one that gives you an item every 3 rounds, for example, to just consistently get stronger units.
Yeah, the Junkyard.
This Bloodthirster is going to need to find that value, and it does!
Ooh, wow.
It does! Scrap value here as well, just with the 2, but that Bloodthirster coming in clutch.
It's like the healing versus the ticking damage of the Malzahar. It's like, which one's gonna be a little bit more? And it was barely the Bloodthirster healing. See, bruh. Lose to K-Pal. I say bruh every time. But then there's the who at the end. I like the who. It's in all caps too. Like, bruh, who?
Who? The World Health Organization? What?
Yes, of course.
We have a representative from the World Health Organization here with us today.
Exactly. It's because of all these little legends that are taking these metabolic accelerator
That's
drugs.
true.
So you gotta make sure that they're, they're doing okay.
It's the doping problem amongst the little legends of the world. I mean, you can't tell me that you can look at Honeybuzz Duckbill and say that little legend's not doping.
I looked at that little legend the first time, and I wanted to not look at it anymore ever after,
it's powerful.
Actually.
So it's actually really funny. I switched off of Duckbill, and I have lost so many LP so far. So I think it's tied to the little legend at this point. It's like a curse, right? He's the Duckbill's my dark passenger. You
need the Duckbill?
Yeah, I need the Duckbill.
I'm sorry for your loss. That's so unfortunate.
No Duckbill's here. So we're clear for now. I've been released from my prison to cast this from the Honeybuzz Duckbill. But yeah, we're looking over at Spetham still, and this should be a little bit more of an even matchup. We'll see if the Zyra gets a good ult off. They both do, actually. So there is more red on the board, and I don't really see the Ezreal getting through all of this. No. Even with some help with the Zyra. The Redemption, though, really, really helping. Does neuter some of the damage from the Zyra as well.
Yeah, Redemption, when you have 2 tier 2 frontline bodyguards with the Poppy and the Darius, that's a lot of damage that Ezreal's cannot chew through, even with the Last Whisper, right? He's just not going to do enough, and now we get to see the man, the myth, the legend. Bruh, who? In complete darkness, it looks like, besides for that monitor lighting.
I know, right? Like, I mean, that's actually really hard to do.
Yeah, like that's good lighting.
Yeah, that's good lighting with like nothing in the background.
Yeah.
He's got like Vanta Black in the background. Bruh, who is rocking 3 points right now? Needs a really good result in this particular lobby, and we're starting with Yordles.
Yeah.
We're losing at the beginning, which means that we haven't really been printing pairs, but we need to start printing at least some unit losses, and we do get a nice matchup against Flovi here, but it's going to be the TF against the World. We've already seen these TFs do a little bit
Ooh.
more than they should. Not this time around, though. Swain, still pretty good.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
oh,
That's actually... Bruh definitely didn't want to win that. Wanted to make sure to maintain that 5 loss streak into the Krugs. Isn't going to do that, though. The Darius upgrade. Okay, now because of that Darius upgrade, moving on into stage 3, definitely wants to turn this into a win streak. So how are they going to be able to do that is probably with slamming any items that you get from this Krug round, because you're not going to want to drop Yordles, so you need the power to come through somewhere.
The power right now is in Yordles, not in necessarily winning those rounds, but providing that money and opportunity. So you're already kind of behind, so you need to catch up in a bunch of different ways. We get the tier. Anytime the tier comes, the cloak comes right after. Well, how funny would it be if that's what happens?
Yeah, that's...
we got the Lysandra.
Maybe? Oh,
Yeah, no items instead. We probably wanted an item, but it's just going to be the tier, and hopefully not from our eyes.
Hopefully not, but it might be if cannot start to get some of these wins shining through. It's not even like the gold is that high either. Level 540 gold is like a little above average for this point, maybe, but not great by any means. Also, I don't know why it just came to my head. I gotta say, I feel like the name Bruh reminds me of like that old anime show Bobobo. If anyone's ever seen that, I just want to say like bruh, but maybe that's just me doing a little bit of reaching there.
So this is gonna be fun. We need you to finish in the top 4, my friend. All right, so
yeah,
we've got representative from the World Health Organization here, going to be losing out again. This is a tough spot, man. We really just need some lucky packs at this point. We aren't even at 50 gold just yet. We finally get a tier 2 Poppy at round 3-2 while printing Yordles. So we've been selling a lot of them to make econ, which has made us lose HP, which is part of our econ. So everything's kind of suffering. But now we get to put in our scrap. We can finally use that tier. We'll see what happens from here, but this is still not necessarily a absolute round winning comp, especially since we're rolling to pretty much 0 right now at 3-2. Last time we saw this, it actually worked out well for our friend in our last lobby. We'll see if spending the money here at 3-2 is going to work out here for bruh.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think that rolling didn't really make this board that much stronger. Found a couple of upgrades, right? Blitzcrank went in as well as a new unit, but it's 3 bodyguards, 2 scraps. Neither of the scraps have items. Would have maybe liked to see the tier on the Ziggs, just to make sure we win some rounds, right? Because rolling that deep, I want to make sure to win. Fortunately, is going to win anyway. It's up against JDCA, who probably also rolled, it looked like. But wow, we have a prismatic augment choice. For stage 3, high roller, 3 loaded dice, or windfall, or enforcer, I believe it was. Yeah, enforcer's soul. What does Knickknack go with here?
Yeah, these are actually kind of rough.
Yeah, not
for
great.
this comp in particular. Say you had, a Caitlyn and a Vi in your comp, enforcer soul, right? But it's probably windfall. High roller might get our Yordles up there. Like, that's how you get to the Yordle King, potentially. A lot of people using high roller for early mercs. You could save it later for 5 cost units. Not really something that you see all that often. I'd probably pick windfall here. What about you, Khroen?
It's rough. After, I don't know. It's actually so hard. Windfall is not bad. I perhaps may have been tempted to go enforcer because you're always going to get value out of that. It does give you a little bit of gold as well. It's not going to be 30 gold, right? It's going to be 8, but still gets you to some econ tiers. But with Knickknack and this Windfall, it means you can push levels, still have okay econ, and just play with a unit advantage. I don't mind that at all, and I think it might actually just be the correct choice. Because there's a lot of good synergies in here. Able to play 4 bodyguards, a couple scholars, scraps, and still Yordles as well to make even more money. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. We need a new player, Ziggs. Your assists are high, but your free throw percentage is just so low. It's actually getting onto the Zyra at this point.
Have we had this conversation before? Is Ziggs the worst one cost in any set?
I don't know. I don't know if we've had that conversation yet, but
yeah, maybe
now I gotta
else.
really think about it because
yeah, I'll give you a bit to come up with something because I think Ziggs may be the worst one cost, and at least maybe the most frustrating one cost, the one that you expect. Oh, Ziggs will be able to do something here, then he just almost never does.
Well, especially, I think it's a little bit of a weird observation because Ziggs used to be a carry unit that you would put 3 ships on, right? Back in the day. And so, now it's just you're just cosplaying a Shaquille O'Neal at the free throw line when you play Ziggs. Yeah. It's or playing golf with Charles Barkley. That's what it feels like with this unit. But it's actually really good balance in that way because the other unit who had an ultimate like that was Ari, who was a 4-cost unit. So very interesting to see how they balance those things.
That is true. Not gonna be running Yordles. Perhaps. Thinks that 3 Syndicate, couple Arcanist, a little bit better. And I think I might actually agree. I think the money that Knick-Knack has gotten from the Windfall is good enough, has made up for everything here, and can still go level 8 at pretty much on pace. And wow, this Zyra's so good even with these 2 items, right? Shojin and Shiv. She's putting in a ton of work.
She's got AoE in 2 different kinds of directions, and the hard part about Zyra is getting up to those secondary and tertiary ultimates, and you're kind of seeing that here, but it's already a little easier because of the Shiv, because of the Shojins, and we're actually going to survive the round. So the Zyra going to be top fragging there, no problem. As we move over to Flovey, who's running some Imperials. We got an Imperial spat there as well. I didn't quite catch the second augment. It's the Spellblade, so it is going to be the Imperial Arcanist comp, which you don't see very often, but can definitely be a thing with Swain as the anchor unit for that.
Yeah, for sure. There was some Swain carry comps kind of popping up a lot, and his spell damage did get nerfed. I don't even want to say significantly. It was kind of the Swain nerf in conjunction with the Imperial nerf that people are maybe moving away from that direction, but Flovey is going to continue to go that way. And it might still be good as well. We have TF with blue buff, right? Imperial, just need 1 more rod, and he can have that Morello. It's going to be so valuable, and doesn't even need it to take out JDCA's Fiora composition there.
TF is so good. Yeah, we've been saying that for so long, and it's just such a good unit to hold literally whatever you want in the early game, right? Hey, you got an Imperial
TF
spat?
To Ziggs.
Yeah, just put it on the TF, right? Hey, you got a Shiv, you got a Deathblade for some reason, right? Put it on TF. It'll work until we need you to leave real quick and give your items to someone better, as Wolves will be pretty important for Flovey. We have committed to at least these Arcanists, and we really want the Large Rod and the Sword here for the Lux.
Definitely do. I'd be curious to see. I think it will be, if Flovey does get a rod, it will go to a Jewel Gauntlet as opposed to a Morello's. Morello's will be nice for the TF, but of course that IEJG Lux build is the perfect build. Imperial Emblem might make that a bit weirder though, because do we want to waste one of the item slots for Imperialing the Lux? Probably not. It might just be to buff up that Swain and have Lux do her own thing as just an Arcanist part of the carry.
We have at least the Jeweled Gauntlet. We can maybe hope for a Carousel Sword. We're already on the bottom side of the leaderboard, so winning these rounds actually might not be super amazing for us. We actually probably want to get as much Carousel priority as possible. That TF ultimate ripped through literally that entire team. Is World Health Organization is going to fall again, having a little bit of a rough time. But the last time we checked in on them, they were having just augments weren't really quite there, the units weren't really quite there, but it looks like we're going to be going that Jin Scion direction.
Yep, and that's really nice with the Underdogs emblem they already have. The less units you have, then you'll start healing up and has actually the loaded dice as well to make sure to hit some of those upgrades. Doesn't have a ton of gold right now, though. That is the one concerning thing. So Pawn needs to pop those soon. Oh, wow. We actually have 2 players who got the Imperial Soul. And it's going to be K-Pal running with a Imperial Shaco and a Jace as well on level 7.
So that is going to be some extra damage coming in from that Shaco, yeah.
A lot.
That's a good unit to try to get that Imperial on. So you're compensating for the nerf of Talon to put that power onto Shaco instead, who is a stronger assassin right now. So one of the big things when it comes to Shaco is a lack of attack speed. So that could be helped out here as we are going to be king when it comes to that Shaco, but the Blitzcrank hook actually messes up our targeting a little bit. Oh my goodness, just auto attacks one-shotting people at this point.
Yep, Jason the backline with GA is going to be able to res as soon as he gets taken down as well, and that might not actually matter. It does a little bit of damage, but Shaco, again, really the big carry. And you don't even need any healing items because once these 2 units get some kills, the Thrill of the Hunt 1 is there, that's 300 healing, and pretty impactful. Takes another loss on the bottom side of the lobby here. We do have a couple of players that are well above the rest. It is Spetham and Fun to Go, both 80 HP or higher. PayPal right now, though, is still rolling. Wants to, it looks like, go for that Shaco 3.
I don't see why not. I mean, or actually, it's interesting because the Shaco absolutely destroyed that last comp, right? Shaco 3 might not be as much of a rush order as previously expected. We'll definitely see its mettle here, but in terms of what it was able to do was enough at Shaco 2 on literally just single auto attacks. The Seraphine is going to get pulled. The Lulu already gets taken down. It's all about just the CC now onto this assassin because we aren't going to get any type of respite outside of our ultimate. And now that we do have a little bit of healing, it's becoming a little bit more complicated. But again, tier 2 is kind of all we needed.
It's so good. 10k damage on a Shaco too. It just wipes the whole board, gets through even tanks like Leona 2 there. Runans to make sure that you're getting heal procs by taking out random other units that it's splashing to. Just so good. So we do get into stage 4 carousel. The legendary units, Galio is on there. Another one was already picked up. It was Tom Kent with a chain. Might be what JDDA needs to come back here. It is 19 HP, but bruh is down to 9.
All right, we're Fun to Go. That's kind of fun, I guess. The one
Fun
that you
to
can
go.
Yeah, the one that you can order online.
Yeah.
Level 8 now for Fun to Go. Hopefully it's not fun to go home right now. We want to finish in the top 4.
I thought there was a lot of puns you could have done there. I was, it just didn't quite reach my expectations, Boop. That's all I'll say. I think you had something better there.
Mom, is that you? You sound like my mom. That's so crazy. Whoa.
Oh, my bad.
Whoa, that's so crazy.
You did great. You 100%. It was the best you could have done. Fantastic, Poop.
Thank
I'm
you.
proud of you.
It's going to be, dang it. I'm all, everything I want to say is not, I'll just say it to you later. Okay, but Fun to Go now with the Ezreal is going to be the anchor here, along with the Ascension. So this comp does tend to actually take a little while to get going, so the Ascension is pretty nice. GA on the Urgot after it ults is literally one of the things that frustrates me most in this game, as it's going to be the top 2 going against each other, and Fun to Go is going to go Fun to second still, as we're Fun at 80 HP, as
Yeah.
this bench is pretty fun, and these augments are fun to go too.
Let's see, how fun are these augments? Socialite, Clockwork Heart, and Funny Frontline. I mean, just a lot of generic stuff here. Nothing that really pops out. We know where the Socialite Hex is, and I assume Fun to Go knew it as well. That's why they have done this. They already had the Urgot 2 on the bench, didn't even play it last round, but still won the round, and now is going to be moving these items on over. A decent spot for this Urgot to be in, and some decent items for him as well between that GA, Runans, and Last Whisper.
a lot of units have liked this hex before. We're not really seeing a ton of them in this set. Draven, I say this all the time, is probably the most famous one, but Urgot here functions pretty well in that particular hex in the second row. Does have a 3 hex range, but this angle is actually really nice because it can extend when you go across the convergence, you actually don't have to walk as much potentially. But we do have the Talon onto the Urgot already. We get CC'd though, so the Urgot is feeling pretty good. Chemtech has started, and there's like no one left on the map. So, this is what happens when enough damage is done on that Shaco, and we burst it down. Basically, that's the only source of damage on that team right now, as Spetham actually loses a second one, and Fun to go first right now.
Yeah, Bruh does go out in 8th place, so just not able to stabilize there. Even with the loaded dice, it seems, just taking so many losses. And it's a rough game, when you get eliminated before the Raptors. Hopefully cleans it up for next one, because we only got one more game to go after this one for at least the first stage of play before we narrow it down to just the top 8, right?
And points will double once we get there. So, and you keep your points. So you want to get as many as possible, and that's where the difference between 4th and 5th place all of a sudden becomes way more substantial when it comes to this particular format. As we do get 2 items, it's going to be the Hand of Justice.
Justice there, interesting. And talk about the format just a little bit more. I actually think it's really nice to keep your points throughout, going from stage 1 to stage 2, because it rewards consistency, but also doesn't make it impossible if you have, a couple of just medium result games, or a few medium result games, because the fact that the point scores are double going to the last 2, so there's still like comeback opportunity as well as rewarding consistency. So I do really like that. Shout out to whoever designed that one on the back end of Giant Slayer stuff. I like it.
All right, we have some items on the bench that are definitely going to be slammed on here. Oh, what?
Ooh, Shroud, wow, okay. Sick.
Just in the nick of time. Doesn't get like a ton of value, but the item didn't exist before that moment. So, I mean, literally anything is good in that moment. We have our enchanters. We have our... I think that's the Malzahar in the back line. We got Clockwork, so people attacking fast. So very interesting combination of units here. But this Enchanter comp is really, really good, especially with the augment that you're seeing there, which is First Aid. So things like Janna, things even like Leona and the Tarek are going to benefit from that because of the extra healing. So a tier 1 Janna all of a sudden becomes, tier 1.5 with that particular augment.
100%. A lot of CC as well, and that's a big reason why that Shaco 3 went down. I think we also saw someone just having a Kali 2 with an Imperial Emblem on that. That was crazy. I'm going to check that out later. For now, looking at Spetham. Spetham has a 3 very good item Urgot. Jinx in the backline as well with a Chemtech emblem on her. How much damage to get done?
Chemtech Emblem is one of the best ways to keep your Jinx alive after the ultimate. Jinx can do a good amount of damage, but it's going to be more of a butter them up, so something like Urgot can take them down once they get there. Is Knick-Knack going to be the next on elimination station at 15 HP. This is going to be quite the battle for 4th place right now between K-Pal and Knick-Knack. Be interesting if they go up against each other, but this is going to be that Scion comp that we saw a little earlier. We got Protectors here, but it's going to be the Jhin with some interesting items on it. Rageblade, not an item you see very often on the Jhin.
Shojin actually low-key not bad. Also have Stand Behind me as well, so a little bit of armor that the bodyguards are giving to those backline units, but Shaco jumps right into the Jhin though. Is that armor gonna end up being enough? No, by no means is it. Knick-Knack, let's hope for the Scion to pull off a miracle.
I mean, there's a lot of CC here. Too. We're gonna take down at least a couple enough units to survive the round. This is against K-Pal, which is pretty demoralizing, to be honest with you, when it comes to what you wanted to see in that matchup. So the percentage of us getting 5th is just so much higher now that we lost to K-Pal. We absolutely need an upgrade here, whether that be an item upgrade or a unit upgrade. It's both. Go for the Shroud, and it's going to be K-Pal once again being the thorn in our side.
Is indeed. Fun to go. Still top of the lobby, 80 HP and on a win streak. Definitely solidifying themselves as a top 4 player. Maybe, I want to say maybe Nick Nack can pull off a massive win streak, but I just don't think it's going to be the case, even with that Janna upgrade, even with this Locket coming through. This board will just lose eventually, right? It's not strong enough to always be winning. I think it is kind of a 5th place locked up, but maybe can survive, get a couple of, good matchups and some good fight RNG for a couple of rounds as K-Pal takes a few big losses. Unlikely, but again, possible, and you got to play for your win conditions.
Yep. We're going to be swapping out. We can't do the quick change anymore. A beautiful swap, actually, for this particular matchup. If you're wondering why the Jin's in the corner, it's because of the Trap Claw. We're going to pull 1 unit. We're going to get our mana going. We already have that Jin ultimate. This could be a round win here. We just got to get another ult off from that Scion, and that will lock it up.
Yeah, Jin pumping a lot of nice damage out there. Giant Slayer is getting some value in this matchup. Jinx is in the backline, but now she does not do enough damage. Nick Nack will survive another day. Urgot takes out 1 more unit, almost 2. It doesn't really matter since it is a ghost round, however. It just matters if Nick Nack wins or loses, and as we see, he did indeed win.
Yep, K-Pal did as well. Again, worst case scenario for Nick Nack and your friends.
Yep.
We have to win out from here. We're only on 1 loss, so we're just really hoping to get to the next PvE round and get even stronger, as we have a complete backline there for K-Pal and that Imperial Shaco, which has weirdly seemed like it's fallen off a little bit. When it does get CC'd, it seems like it's super weak. When it's able to do its thing, it seems like it's broken, right? So doing assassin things, this is a winnable round again, all because of that Giant Slayer.
It is indeed. These are some really good augments, however, for the opposing board, having the Knife's Edge, buffing the Urgot, the Jinx, and Urgot needs the extra AD, and yeah, he has it. Ascension as well, so when this fight gets 15 seconds in, which is right about now, that Urgot's gonna be doing a lot more. Jin goes down. Nick Nack goes down as well. Fun to go is not letting up the pressure at all. All of those synergies on the left-hand side as well. That looks so satisfying.
Oh, for sure. Anytime I see this, I just go, stand united, where were you? Because you always, I feel like sometimes you just end up with the comp like this. Like you hit the mid game, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to play but like enchanters and a bunch of different stuff, as this is a triple item dragon. So that must be a little frustrating for Nick Nack, because it always gives you just like a little bit of hope, but instead he's gonna have to patty whack back home for the next lobby. Fun to go though. I think we have a bunch of AD items, I believe. Oh, and a Morello's.
Yeah, all of these can get value, actually. Kaisa, okay, gonna roll past that one. I thought maybe the Kaisa would find her way in there, but no. What else we roll into? Pair of Yumis. Wow, on a pair of a lot of different things, actually. Bit unfortunate. I mean, it's on a 10 win streak, right? So it probably doesn't matter.
This is where first place will end up losing, right? This is where some of our
likely.
other compositions will start picking it up, and this is where we could get that 1v1 at the end of the round. We do have a couple more eliminations to go. K-Pal potentially on 2 lives. We'll see how good that Shaco is going to be, as the Orianna has the Giant Slayer along with the Rageblade Seraphine with the blue buff. Yeah, some itemization there in the back line, almost enough to heal through it, but that healing nerf showing up right now, even with first aid. That is going to be an easy win for a Final Four lobby.
Yeah. Fun to go also did a very, very important thing that last round and actually swapped his Urgot and his Jinx out of the Socialite Hex. Did not have anybody in the Socialite Hex, but that's because he was dodging the Assassin player. Didn't end up rolling into the Assassin player, but still the willingness to get out of that Socialite Hex so it doesn't bait you into just losing because you have the unit in there. Very, very well done.
Oh man, that is something that we harp on all the time. Just because the resource is there doesn't mean you have to use it, right? If any of us play Catan, how many times have you had too many sheep?
I know.
Right? How many times?
4 for 1, it's worth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you just have so much sheep, but it doesn't mean that, you have to immediately get rid of them. You might have to build to a port, and so you can get good trades and stuff like that. But trying to force use of the sheep, right, is probably not going to work out for you, as the Urgot Kog'Maw combo is going to go
Wow.
down to Fun, but it is going to show us that Spetham can totally win that round.
Yeah, that was very, very close. Betham with maybe some more upgrades. A Jinx 2, Zac 3, I guess, because we're going for Zac 3 for a reason that I'm not totally sure, but hey, already have 7 Zacs, might as well.
Sometimes
Doesn't
the game just
really-
plays itself.
Yeah, it doesn't really need 7 Chemtech. Can actually drop this Lissandra and the Singed, and yeah, it looks like that is going to be the decision. Be able to pick up a Fiora as well for the Challenger. Slowly but surely, Spetham's comp is getting stronger. I really hope to see Spetham ditch these Zacs to pick up the pair of Kai'Sa. You don't want to be locking at this point. You really want to hit Jinx 2, Kai'Sa 2. You're level 9. Zac 3 is probably not going to happen, and just not going to be as worth it as those other tier 2 upgrades.
EP completely missing from this particular lobby. Outside of that first aid comp, we have that Seraphine and the Orianna, but we have our top 3. Spetham, who spent most of the time on top of the leaderboard with Fun to Go after losing that round, has lost a good amount of HP. We're going to go for raw damage. We're going for the Spat. We're going to go for the Zephyr and the Chemtech Spat. So we're going to be even more flexible when it comes to what Chemtechs we're going to be running. I.e. Last Whisper on the Urgot with the GA. GA on Urgot, so good, especially if you get that ult off before you fall. Oh, and we get some pretty clutch upgrades here, so Fun to Go getting even stronger as we move on to these late game rounds.
Yeah, really the interesting thing is what's going to happen with these players who are on elimination point, all right, who are going to be Asa and Spetham on 6 HP. What upgrades do they make? What repositioning do they have to do? Because Fun to Go is kind of just sitting here ready to go. He's taking his time scouting out how everyone else is positioning, but he doesn't really have to move. Assassins aren't in the game anymore. Urgot can stay in this Hex and just has to pray that, you know, fight RNG goes well and that his board's just stronger, which all the times it will be. Jinx even rolls a Shroud on top of everything.
Urgot's a little bit of like a slow burn movie. If you like those slower shows, Urgot might be your way of going here. As we do get backline access, the AP comp needs this, I was about to say this Victor ult to rip through. Let's see if it happens here instead. And it looks like it does, as Spetham will be eliminated in 3rd place. I mean, can anyone touch Fun to Go at this point? Because, you know, it's not fun to go 8th, but it's fun to go 1st.
Definitely not fun to go 8th. In fact, very sad. Asa is already top 2 yet again. And he, however, come back from a mountainous gap of HP here. I think we saw it happen last week or a couple weeks ago. Someone make an HP comeback happen from like 60 plus of a deficit, maybe.
Very few times have we reached the PvE round at the edge of stage 7. The other day, I actually had 5 people make it to stage 7-1. I'd never seen that before.
5 people stage
7? Yeah, it was. We all had like under like 15 HP. It only went to like 7-2, but we were all there.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there this time around. No, Asa gets completely destroyed by Fun to Go, and Fun to Go will take lobby or game number 2 with still 80 HP. That game was crazy from start to finish. Fun to Go just putting an absolute clinic there.
You know, we're actually getting to see a good amount of Jinx do some work, not necessarily as a 5-cost splash like she's been used or argued about for the last couple patches. But we saw an AP comp with Lux win that last lobby. We saw a couple Urgot comps that time around. So that Urgot's a little bit more par for the course was always going to be good. If you get those twin shots out there, you get good amount of itemization on Urgot, you will most likely find yourself in the top 4.
Yeah. Definitely will. And now after 2 games, Boop, we have the fun role now of being able to pick and choose which lobby we want to see for the next game. But while we ponder on that one for a moment, let's go ahead and take a look at the scores from that previous game. It is going to be Yiggles winning in lobby A again, right? That's 2 back-to-back Yiggles victories. Absolutely insane. Yiggles, it's clicked for Yiggles, it seems like. She is dominating lobby A.
Yeah, so Yiggles used to have a really big issue with intention back in the day, right? Yeah. Yiggles has been in Fight Night a couple times before, and what we've been able to see her grow has been kind of understanding that intention, but also that next step of, I can win this. right? Like, when I go into a tournament, if I ever came into Fight Night, I'd be like, I'm so happy for this participation award, right, that I'm about to receive for this 8th place that
Yeah.
I'm getting. But, there's a mindset that says you can win this thing. And once you kind of believe it, I think what you're seeing Yiggles do is what happens.
Exactly. Let's go ahead and take a look at the overall scores for 2 games. And of course, Yiggles with back-to-back firsts, going to be at 20 points. Asa not too far behind, however, with back-to-back seconds. Yuki and Spatham taking the top 4. But really, the important part's going to be looking at the bubble, right? Everyone from about 12 points to like even 7 points around there. All of them have the chance to either get knocked out of the top 8 or climb their way back into it.
So the top 8 again will move on to the final lobby where points are going to be doubled. They will keep these points close going into that final portion of the of today's games, and Yiggles already developing a lead. We're not even to the 3rd and last lobby, so Yiggles already pretty much locked up, right? Just doesn't need an 8th place and is probably going to be fine. But everything after that still up for grabs, and there's a lot of people fighting for that 8th place spot.
Yeah, Common Quail especially is in the bubble. I think he's in lobby A. I don't know about you, Boop, but I'm leaning towards lobby A for game number 3. But what about you?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead and go back to lobby A, because a Common Quail was who I looked at originally as well, because a Common Quail is coming from 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row, 2 weeks in a row of winning Fight Night in its old format. And, coming in with more people, Quail absolutely needs this type of experience, right? For players like Common Quail, it's tournament wins and tournament results that are going to get you to that next level. And the more people you add, maybe the less likely it is that you're going to win. I could literally be making this up statistics wise, but what a Common Quail needs to do is, when we do have these players, you gotta still be able to maintain those same consistent results, whether it's 8 or 16 people.
Definitely. Common Quail, yeah, you're right. It was Fight Night winner the previous 2 weeks, but even the 2 weeks before that got 2nd place back to back. So it's really just been on a tear, but for some reason, after 2 games, it's not clicking the most. Did get 4th place exactly the last game, so it's not bad. With a placement of, about, 4th or 3rd here, could potentially make it in to the top 8. But again, it comes down to what the other players are placing in the other lobbies as well, because your fate is not always going to be in your hands. But you just have to play the best that you can. There's other players in the lobby as well that are on the bubble within Nexty, both of them at 9 points. Level 1 Raft with 12 points. With a poor place on their end, they could not be seeing the finals, but game is ready, Boop. And this is going to be a very interesting one. The first time we're having players cut throughout the, beginning the middle of the day. So, pressure is on already.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the amoeba trying to get the bow there. As I think 6 out of 8 people try to go for the bow. Why is bow, you asked me earlier, but what's the take for you? Why is bow, one, always just the item that for some reason you see it and you're like, I want it. I don't know why, but I want this bow.
Bow can fit into any comp, and for items that are pretty decent for stemming in the early game, Shivs being a big one, Runans being one you get away with, even RFC, even though it was nerfed right in that Talon meta, people are still used to building that one. Giant Slayer, if you end up with that, it's still going to be decent. Rageblade, not so much, but still, all the other items, even Last Whisper, right? Last Whisper is a good one that you wouldn't mind going, and in fact would love going for multiple units, again, like that triple package of AD4 costs with Yone, Urgot, and Jin. There's just so many items that have value, and that, again, don't lock you into one direction.
So we're looking at our 2-time lobby winner so far. This is tough when you win 2 lobbies like that. Especially with the prismatic opener here. We're gonna that was Knife's Edge. Was the pick here. High-end shopping, Clockwork, High Roller. High Roller early is so good, especially with perks. But we saw a 7 or 6 loss cash out last week that gave like 2 components and 20 gold. Was not very good. So I've literally been allergic to mercenaries ever since that game. It's been a whole week since I've played mercs. We'll see. It's going to be Clockwork.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I mean, it does give a lot of gold. Clockworks are going to have value. Already, making 10. If we find a Ziggs, gonna be just printing even more money with Yordles. And I believe wants to go with an AP direction. Uniki started the first carousel off with a tier and has found another one, so that's already blue buff for, you know, probably a Lux, but we'll see. It could be a Heimer as well. I think we saw a top 4 board happen with a Heimer, like Seraphine, Orianna, Janna in the backline. Kind of comp is still very, very nice, as we have a Camille and a Zillion as well, so could already have 4 Clockworks, even though Clockworks kind of get better as the game goes on, so maybe not going to force it that much, especially with Yordles already here and online.
Oh, and we can use our blue buff right away on a couple units, but TF, again, you know, if you ever need to have someone hold anything for you while you're in the dressing room, TF is the one. I say that joke all the time, but it is so true. It is so true, because no matter who you're shopping with, there is going to be one time where only one of you is going to use the dressing room, and I hope TF is there to help you out.
TF is here helping out this board a lot, but it is going to be potential mercenaries in the future for Guzma. Did have a Windfall opener. It's a lot of gold, but still level 4. Level 4 is going to make it that much more likely to roll into either a Quinn or Misfortune. What Kuzma needs to round out that 3 mercs.
All right, let's see if we're going to be able to get to those mercs early on. We miss out 1 round on 2-1, but if we can get it in before the PvE round, we're still pretty okay. Yeah. As we're on a Common Quail who absolutely needs a top 4, maybe even a top 2, to feel good about moving into the next phase of Fight Night.
Yep. Be surprising to not see a Common Quail in the final lobby, especially being that, you know, he wins lobbies. He's won Fight Night past 2 weeks, not even making it to the top 8. Be a very, very big disappointment, but it all comes down to, you know, how well you play on the day. Sometimes a little bit of RNG, right? You can't always get first. There's too much variance in teamfight tactics.
It's how you control the variance that makes you a good player.
Yep.
Oh, we have the featherweights, it looks like, for level 1 Raft, who had 100 HP for a very, very long time. If you're wondering why that Twitch was speedy, that is why. It's the prismatic version as well, which I actually haven't really seen a ton of being used. It's something that I see at the other tiers, but in terms of prismatic, I'm excited to see what we have here. It's probably going to be a protector opening that we see on a Common Quails board that would be good for something like featherweights. Yordles can be good. For example, early scraps can be good for something like that. As the Common Quail has some decisions to make. Are we going to move the Ziggs in, or are we going to move a different direction? Because it looks like we kind of want to go Challies.
Decisions. Has new recruit, so has an extra unit slot available on the board. Going to be putting in an Echo, not buying the Ziggs too. Could have played 4 scrap. I think that's a consideration. Maybe if there wasn't already a Garen 2 and a Cassidon 2, it's just gonna feel really bad to take either of those out. Could have played both of those and 4 scraps, perhaps, but then you lose Bruiser. You don't want to do that. So I actually do like the decision that Common Quail has made here. He's gonna be able to make 10 if he so chooses, and I assume will choose to make 10. No, actually gonna double pre-level instead of making 10. Okay.
All right, so we're just trying to push our advantage. That's what that tells us, right? That we want to keep running. We are pacing the lobby. We're sprinting right now. We might lose a little bit of energy later on because we've just gotten rid of all of our economy, and it's going to take at least 2 rounds to get back to 10 gold. But maybe this investment this early is going to make those 2 rounds come a lot easier, and we're going to be able to make up that economy a little bit quicker than usual. We are going to pick last, so that's a little bit of the risk, but Common Quail is used to that. Is one of the more flexible players that you'll see. You can play from the bottom, can play from the top, but I think that was the large rod that Quail picked up. Nope, it was the belt. My eyes deceive me. So the belt will be next up. We do pre-level, so we do hit level 5. We get a couple 3-cost units as well, as Hypnoticus will be the next lobby that we're going with. And, you know, you ask and you shall receive, Mr. Khroen. It's the Heimerdinger with the item slam.
It is indeed Heimer because of the early game Yordles. Vex could go in over the Ziggs, but that would drop scrap. Is going to be wanting to make 30 gold. Or if actually Hypnoticus keeps these Yordles, might we see 6 Yordles and the Yordle King Vigar appear? It's possible.
Oh, it's definitely possible. We've got a good start for that particular scenario to ring true. We are going to keep losing these early rounds, though, with this setup. We knew that. Hypnoticus already on 3 loss streak. We probably want to keep losing up until the PvE round and then decide whether we're going to run Yordles or not for the rest of that time. But we already have 2 more here. We're moving on up to the tier 3 side of things. And, I mean, that's a lot of Yordles on that bench, 7 of them to be exact.
Yes, it
but
is.
we only have that tier 1 Ziggs, which means we're already kind of behind, but we're doing okay. If we get another Vex, though, we got to do it, right?
Oh yeah, definitely would play the tier 2 Vex at that point. Maybe Hypnoticus wants to make sure, actually this is around a loss. And I think, yeah, it's going to be taking out the units that are very strong, scouted out and considered, hey, I actually could win some of these rounds. Wants to keep that loss streak going, at least until Krugs. This is going to be a 5-0 though, so maybe a bit of a overreaction potential.
Hey,
Depends on the matchup, so
it's
you want to
better
be
to
safer than
go.
sorry. Yeah.
It is better to go 100% into a mistake than 50% into a potential right answer, in my opinion. So, we went 100% in. We left it to no chance, because how many times have you tried super hard to lose by a unit and you end up winning by 2? Or something like that, you completely mess it up. So that way, we sacrifice HP just to guarantee that we do not win that round, so we can get into this round with that loss streak. And now we've got some Imperials again, this time on Next's board. And it's not gonna, that Rage Blade's not gonna stay there forever, folks, but we'll see where that turns into a little later. But just the IE is enough, and those components on the Rage Blade should be pretty okay on the Talon in order to get at least 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah, I think Combined's actually pretty good on the Talon. He's going to be stacking a lot of damage out and healing him. It gives him AP and serves as a little bit of a defensive component, right? Like kind of GA or Quicksilver slot. Because once Talon pumps out all that damage, he's going to be rather tanky. So this is, I think, Next's best in slot Talon, and one that he's going to keep for the entirety of the game. Does find Scion as well, but isn't going to really be able to run that unless you drop Swain Poppy and put Scion in as a protector to pair along with that Blitzcrank. The potential's there. Yeah, it's kind of hand on head thing. Like, what do I do here? I wasn't expecting to roll a Scion at level 5, but yep, in it goes.
I think that's the right choice. The risk that you take with running early Colossus is when you lose by a little bit more because you have 1 less unit, right? And when you win by a little bit less because, again, you have less units. But with this Rage Blade on the Talon, which is so interesting how that works, it's just auto attacks that make it work. And the AP ratios and the numbers on Talon's bleed are actually kind of nuts. So I totally see how this can work out, and the RFC makes it guaranteed that these auto attacks go off no matter what. So kind of like Malzahar and how he acts as a battery when it comes to that ultimate, it looks like Talon does the same thing here.
Yeah, especially you'll start to see that value come through when Talon gets tier 2 and tier 3, with how much Gunblade healing can actually provide. Move on over to level 1 Raft, who did pick up featherweights, and is, going to be re-rolling for Singed and Twitch. I like seeing this composition happen. It's rather fun, especially with featherweights when they zoom all over the place.
Yeah, Twitch is always that unit that's like, wait, Twitch is good? Because he is, especially if you're able to tier 3 it pretty early. We're running out of time to call it early, but we're on time still.
Yeah,
our plane's still
bad.
going to leave on time at the moment if everyone sits down and follows all the directions.
Hopefully. Sometimes it's never guarantee.
Exactly. We do get backline access here with the Camille. The Zillion's going to get rid of some of that front line, but this is the hard frontliner, which is that our canist Yordle that everyone loves to hate, which is that Vex. We're going to get close, but I don't think we're going to be able to win this round out. So that featherweight pick, not quite working just yet, but once we get to tier 3, you'll really see those units start to pop off.
Yeah, 7 loss. Oh, okay, here we go. We're seeing more prismatic augments. What do we go? Is it Chemtech here? Is it Windfall? Level up is not great, and yeah, Chemtech is going to be the choice here. Getting at least 3 Chemtechs in right now. Not a lot of gold to continue rolling. Level 1 Raft maybe feels a bit stable with that. The items for the Twitch right now aren't great. You don't want to slam a Hodge on him. That's not going to be the most kind of bang you can get for your buck. is going to greed out just a little bit longer. But 60 HP with 7 losses is not bad, actually. It's
No.
pretty good.
There's a world where I think Hypnoticus actually has less losses but less HP because of that that round where we actually 0-5 with the Yordles. That's actually the difference that we see here. But we're at 50 gold, and that's what matters, right? We have the Chemtex, which is going to give us a little bit more time. Things like the Ezreal really appreciate that kind of time. So it's all up to this TF now from Yuki to do TF things. We've got the blue buff, we've got the GA, and once we get those cards out, we have to be able to slice and dice. And right now, that's actually not been the case, but the damage is still being done elsewhere with that Malzahar.
And TF do TF things? Well, it looks like, yes, he is going to be living up to his namesake there. Throwing cards, dealing a lot of damage, and getting level 1 Raft out on a 4-0 loss there. Taking 10 HP for Raft, so going to be a bit below Hypnoticus as Hypnoticus finds some round wins. And we do actually have a bit of information that we didn't see last game on the broadcast, but we know Hypnoticus did go 6 Yordles last game and went 8th with it, and he's trying to run it back and go 6 Yordles again. So hopefully we'll learn from the mistakes and play them either a bit differently or maybe get a bit luckier, but do something, because Yordles can pop off. Just didn't go his way last time around.
Yeah, it can be moderately augment dependent when it comes to those Yordles, but they can definitely pop off. In terms of like regular ladder stats, especially in Plat and below, Yordle's crushing it.
Yeah.
And always will, probably, at those ranks. But even at the higher ranks, if you're able to get your 6 Yordles, if you're able to get to your Vigor, 1, if you're able to get Vigor, you're probably already kind of winning. And 2, you know, once you get those Yordles locked in, your top 4 percentage becomes a lot better, because that is one of those completed comps that the game lets you have as one of those kind of, it's not a, I guess it's a chase trait, which 6, but when it comes to a completed trait, the Yordles really benefit from that 6 spot, especially units like the Heimerdinger, because of less of that mana being used. As the Gunblade now,
seeing the value out of it. It's doing a little bit of healing. Is it enough, though? Not looking like it. Get one auto off in the TF, so he's slowly going to bleed to death, but that GA is there. GA will save him. Oh, the Challenger Scion. I was like, wait a minute.
Is he ulting? That's the wrong ult.
Yeah, actually, it looked like he was ulting.
Yeah, that looked like Summoner's Rift for a hot second. We got a good amount of money here, 54 gold. So whenever you're able to hit level 7 at 50 gold, it just gives you more opportunities to use that money versus being forced to use it a certain way. So we're actually in a great position. This is the position I like to be in when it comes to 4-1, kind of in the middle, being able to see where everyone else is. And everyone here kind of in the middle of the leaderboard has the most context. The ones at the bottom need to make something happen, right? Hypnoticus at 39 HP has to use their money. But, you know, if you're a Yugi, you could kind of be patient with it.
Hypnoticus is using their money. 0 gold, actually, while being level 6, still 1 Tristana away, 1 Poppy away, and a lot of Vexes away. So hopefully hatching some Yordles they need. Oh, still actually only rocking a Heimer 1 as well. It does have an Arcanist emblem that is rather strong. The potential for this comp is very, very high. Just hasn't quite reached it yet, but it's going to have a little bit more time to get there, because Hypnoticus does take out Yunyuki, at least in that round. Yunyuki finding Vexes, stealing them away. Hypnoticus, but at least Hypnoticus hits Poppy 3.
Mm-hmm. The fact that we only have the Heimerdinger 1 at round 4-1 means that we want to roll into some of these other Yordles, but people are still printing right now, so our level is getting high for some of our tier 1 Yordles, so it's great that we're getting our Poppy 3, but we also have a Spat here for Yugi. Right now that's going to be an Arcana Spat. So if we move the TF away, we can pick our Arcanist. We have an Assassin potential there too, which is always fun.
Yeah.
I always just like seeing who would just look the best as an Assassin. Right? Like Scion. That's just funny. I'm fine losing with that because it's just hilarious. But the Archangel's going on the Katarina, and we're going to go ahead and put the scrap bonus onto the Echo, and here it is. This is a good one for best looking assassin. Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank, here we go. Assassin Blitzcrank, always very funny. Is going to be able to maybe one-shot some units. Let's see what he's going to be able to pull. Probably that Tristana in the corner there. Yep. Some damage, but by no means a one-shot.
It's so funny because the Assassin Blitzkrieg actually makes him worse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he jumps behind the tanks and then pulls a tank into you sometimes.
Yep.
As that is a complete wipe. Still no Heimerdinger 2, I believe.
Nope. Not even a pair of Heimers, actually. Wow, that's looking like another 8th potentially for Hypnoticus there. Definitely not going to be able to get all Yordles online and printing out Vigars. That's so far away with 24 HP. I mean, even hitting at Tristana at 3, sure, that's a 3-star unit, golden, wowie, great, but it has no items, right? It's not even your carry. It's just kind of there.
It's like a Fabergé egg, right? What does it do? Other than to show off how much money you have, right? Like, that is kind of what it is. So, the Fabergé
you file
egg,
bankruptcy as well.
I know, right? Because I wanted this egg to show to my friends. But yeah, we get to see some more Yordles on the other side. This one's going to have that makeshift armor clockwork buff. Makeshift armor I like on Yordles. Anything that gives them a little bit more beef to survive a little bit longer to get to those ults, I really like. But again, this Yordle comp struggling a little bit as well. Too much burst damage from these assassin units, with Yiggles having that Assassin Blitzcrank and now Zyra. Assassin Zyra is kind of scary.
Definitely. It gives 3 Syndicate for Shaco to be doing Shaco things, and it just does a lot of damage with her ulti. It's also very nice because if they take into consideration that these units are going to, enemy units are going to clump up on the same rows oftentimes when we go into Assassin composition, so Zyra will get even more value because she'll be more likely to hit multiple units. So a little bit of a note there. Yiggles 66 HP with this board, even with running Shaco 1 for most of this. Now obviously past couple rounds has hit the Shaco 2. But Yiggles is setting herself up to maybe go triple first. I wouldn't be surprised, especially if she can get to Shaco 3, which I think she is on pace for right now. But wait a minute. Board 3, that's an Urgot 2 and a Jinx 2 on the other side of the board?
That's what it looks like, Khroen. Sometimes people are really good at the game and still lose. Potentially. So it's going to be it is going to be a lot. Zyra, man. That's Zyra pushing some good damage.
2 and Jinx 2 losing the 4 and 5 cost units, mind you, losing to 3 cost unit being the carry. Yeah.
That's some high level analysis, Khroen.
I just want to put that out there, you know, I think that's really all that needs to be said.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. Sometimes an egg is just an egg.
An egg is an egg, a Shaco's a Shaco, and Jinx sucks.
You know,
well, you go full circle.
Yeah, exactly. TFT is a full circle, you know? Eventually, your units are going to be wearing bell-bottom jeans, you know? Just like fashion, it always comes back. Level 8 now for UK. We still have that spat. I'd love to see a funny assassin, but we're probably not going to get there, as we're starting to move into some beefier units. Oh, actually, moderately good roll down here. Good 4 cost. No tier 2s, but some good just general units here as people continue to steal Yordles from Hypnoticus.
This is probably one of the more intentional rundowns we've seen. Like, it's going so fast. You know, Yunyuki knows what they want. Everything is here. All the items are going to go in.
That was
the
clean.
Shroud as well. That was very, very clean. Not the board that they want to end up at, but a good board with taking into regard what exactly they rolled and what units they wanted to replace.
A lot of people will pivot and lose. That is a pretty common experience in TFT. It's kind of like the second round where the result of the pivot will really show itself. We're 21 gold, right? So we're going to be close to 40 gold on this next round. We're only 1 Seraphine away. Even though we lost, we're at 27 HP. This lobby is not necessarily like super out there, maybe except for Yiggles, and even then it's just like a couple spats that are really making that happen. Jinx 2 apparently is not enough. Hypnoticus is on the brink of elimination station again, as it's the 3rd prismatic for this game.
There we go. Yep. Level up, I mean, need to use that gold, I think, for some upgrades, but Yunyuki's still considering it. I don't know. Item grab bag is not going to provide that much value if they're AD items. That will be 1 Reforger, so be able to re-roll those. It's likely that they will end up being good. Death Cap, fine for the Heimer.
Yeah, and the Zeeks.
Not terrible. Might are re-rolling that. We'll see, though, as soon as these roll downs come through.
Not terrible, but usable.
Yeah. Kench. There's some Luxes in the shop.
we're a lot less intentional here. So like this is a really, really, really good example of intention and the pivot and that clean pivot to kind of roughshotting this part together.
Yeah.
Right? So we literally got to see both sides of the coin just now. A little bit of overthinking here. That was 2 pivots that we just saw in 2 rounds pretty much. I like the comp that we ended up on, but we're still pivoting. Right, technically. So we'll see how long we can do this for at 27 HP. That is where I actually don't want to see this kind of play. Sometimes you get locked into what you get locked in with. You just got to run it, as Jinx is going to win out that round. But now in UK on Elimination Station, as well as a Common Quail will fall. Hypnoticus looking like we're starting to make up some of our misfortune.
Yep. And Yiggles, what do you know? Top of the lobby on a win streak. Won't be the case, I think, forever. There was a rather strong Imperial Talon board, even though the nerfs happened. It was looking good. Hypnoticus hangs on. Common Quail goes level 8. Common Quail, I think one of the themes I noticed for Common Quail is that he generally will go level 8 slower than everybody else, but preserves more HP and has more gold to roll with, and so oftentimes we get better placements because of that. I really like that playstyle. I was able to identify, you know, what can I run in the early game to have the strongest board, preserve as much as possible, and it looks like that came through this time around with Lysandra being a challenger Lysandra. Not what you'd expect to see, but hey, it got the job done. It got you here. We'll see what else comes through. Oh, not even running the Urgots, actually. I thought for sure. But I guess it's just going to be challengers, and I guess that makes sense. He likes
challengers.
Yeah, need to find Yone too, and Fiora too, though. Those are the big ones that are not happening yet. Even selling Mundo too. Very interesting.
We had the time to do it. We had the money. Rolling down with money at 8 is very different than trying to get economy at level 8. But we got units, but not tier 2 units. But the Challies should be okay to at least take down those units, gets rid of the carry from Unyuke, and actually takes a moderately big loss there. Interested to see if the Yordles make it. The answer is no, but did give me some hope. The Yordles are going to go through the portal and unfortunately eat that 8th for dinner.
Yeah, back-to-back 8ths. No fun to go 8th.
No, it is like the worst kind of going 8th too, in my opinion.
What, Yordles?
Yeah, because it's like the game is literally giving these units to me, and I'm still getting 8th place.
Yeah,
I'm fighting with Yordles right now. I have always been fighting with Yordles. I had almost the exact same tournament experience the Hypnoticus had with Yordles last time I played in a tournament. So we're kind of just not on speaking terms right now.
Oh man, even with Common Quail's kind of haste to roll there, did roll past an Orianna, and I think Orianna upgrade is one of the ones that a Common Quail really, really wants. So we are up to 8 challengers right now, but still, it is not going to be enough because the upgrades are not here. Going to be taking a huge loss into level 1 Raft, who has everything they want right now, right? Has the Sen United, the Featherweights to buff up the Singe, the Twitch, the Ezreal even is tier 3'd as well. Everything going right for level 1 Raft, but almost nothing going right for a Common Quail.
An elimination here for a Common Quail would be an elimination from the tournament. This would not be enough to get that top 4, but we do have now that Yone at tier 2. It's all about positioning now. We would have loved to tier 2 some other units, but the most important one has been tier 2. I like Bloodthirster on the unit, so we get that lifesteal right away. Deathplate's going to give us some straight AD now that is going to be upgraded with that tier 2. This is the most important round that Common Quail has had in Fight Night so far today. This is winnable, but we're going up against the Urgot and the Jinx.
Winnable, but not great positioning. Yone's going to have to take a while to get into the backline. It might be okay, though, because challengers rip through boards very quickly and rip through this one quickly as well. But Yone's spending a lot of time walking around and not a lot of time hitting units. Walked around the world, only to allow Common Quail to go maybe 6th, actually. But even still, probably won't be enough to advance to the next stage.
Brutal walking, good for the environment, not necessarily on the convergence. And the Common Quail is going to have to watch the rest, doing some other things other than playing TFT for the finals, as our top 8 is showing itself here soon. For everyone who's new, we have 2 lobbies going on at the same time. We're going to take the top 8, move into the final 2 lobbies where the points are doubled to find out who's going to be the winner of Fight Night. More money at play, more players doing all of this awesome TFT shenaniganery to show us exactly what these new patches and these potential new star players might be.
Exactly. I feel like it's a game show. Like, and the point values are doubled. That is going to be the format, of course, going to the final 2 games. But we're looking to see who's going to make their way there. Next, the 5 Imperials. The Imperial nerfs are not dissuading players from going that direction. That is for sure. And for next, it looks like it's going a little bit better than before. Is it enough, though?
We got the triple prismatic game just to make the flavor a little bit of extra spicy, but you're totally right that Imperial has not really shown any lack of play so far today. It's going to be the Scion that's trying to block most of the damage, and now it's going to be the Kaisa who's going to be able to break through a couple of them. Samira with the GA close, not that much to that ultimate with the Kaisa.
Oh.
Yumi makes that a guaranteed thing, and Nexty will take that loss. We still have a top 5 though, as Kuzma is alive, and we have that Samira 3 now.
Samira 3 was 1 away, has hit, and still going to be about 2 lives remaining. If not a full wipe going into stage 6, that will be 2 lives. Kuzma on 3 HP. Yiggle still at the top. Level 1 Raft, only player on a win streak right now. Yeah, we know why. That board is rather terrifying with featherweights in Twitch 3, Singe 3. Will next these Samira 3 be enough? The Zephyr repositioning is not going to hit what he wants.
Okay, we have 5 Imperials versus the Assassins on the other side. It's going to be the Zyra that gets Zephyred. And the Zyra, though, actually going to get better positioning because of the Zephyr, but gets taken down by the Talon. This is, man, the damage coming through real quick. Samira 3, not enough, but we are still alive at 8 HP. Kuzma, though, does fall. We have a top 4, the extra point when it comes to getting into the top 8. So very important. So Nexty feeling pretty all right about this, but any result higher than this is just more confirmation going into the next portion of Fight Night and getting that confidence there to potentially win the whole thing.
Exactly. This is a super important game for Nexty. It was 9 points, so barely outside of the top 8 range. A top 4 is probably not enough. They might need a 2nd place, but 3rd would still be more likely. It depends on what results happen from the other lobby. But I think with the Samira 3, and if Nexty's able to go level 8 perhaps, could end up doing it. Level 1 Raft. Wow, 50 gold, level 9. Just gonna keep rolling it down, try to find some upgrades, try to find... It has 2 echoes in the field, actually.
This is the equivalent of that money gun that you see some cool people use on TikTok, right? What we're seeing right now from level 1 Raft. So we're gonna pass on the Seraphines. We get the Echo to tier 2, so we don't need to take 2 spots from it. We're keeping the Seraphines away right now from other players. But really, these featherweights are gonna be brutal. We're going up against some Imperials, though, Khroen.
Against the Imperials, and Ezreal was the one that was Zephyred. Twitch still in the back line, very strong, and oh my, is not gonna be able to do enough, though. The Samira damage, it's just who can pump out the damage faster. It'll be Nexty for that round.
Ooh, man, we got
Yiggle's
tier 3
as well.
You know, those Imperials, especially with Talon getting tier 3, so it's not just putting all of your eggs in one basket with one carry. You're actually going to get to split some of the profit there. The game, once again, wanting our players to pick up that Seraphine, but we aren't going to go that direction. We do have 2 Jaces on the bench, so even if we're not going to be using them, at least we're blocking those Jaces from other boards.
Okay, gonna take out that 4 clockwork. Not gonna utilize the sniper really either. IE gonna go on to the Jace. And yeah, Jace 2 would be a bit better than Jhin, but it's not a Jace 2 quite yet. Are we even gonna get there? This might end up being another loss, but again, depends on what this Twitch can make happen from the backline here. Is he gonna have enough time? No, Akali just assassinates the Twitch. That's gonna be a 6-0 loss, it looks like, for level 1 Raft. 10 HP. And Nexty climb back to even a top 2 potentially?
Is Yiggles gonna 3-0 the lobby? She's having the best day of TFT she has ever had.
Yeah.
at least here on Fight Night, and it actually might happen. We might get a 1-1-1 scenario going into the second portion of Fight Night. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, we have 3 players who are all going to be eliminated with their next loss. Look how strong these boards have become. And this board that you're seeing right now with the featherweights, with the triple prismatic on a 2-game loss streak, going into the next carousel where some power might, it's a game of inches now, might put you across that finish line. We need to get there. So it's going to be Within versus Raft, tanks versus featherweights. What a great kind of thematic board to be going up against.
Yeah, the Jace gets Zephyr in the backline, and CC does dodge that Scion smash though, but the Twitch goes down, and level 1 Raft will go down as well. In 4th, Nexty gets the 3rd. That might be what Nexty needed, but we don't know for sure. We do, however, know it's Within versus Yiggles, and Yiggles, I'm there with you, Boop. This might be a 1-1-1 looking kind of angle for Yiggles.
Oh man, I'm nervous. Is this going to happen? Yiggles has a crazy board. This board is absolutely nuts. 6 Assassin, 5 Syndicate, a couple bodyguards, and we have Scholars to help with some of these ultimates. And like you said, we could get stronger, and we didn't roll into any of it. We could roll into the Shaco 3 if we choose, but we have a loss. We have 2 losses that we could go through here. So even if we lose the next 2 rounds, Yiggles will just say, you know what? Let's make 7-1 the last round of the game, and I'm going to try to get as much money before that. If I win, awesome. If not, 7-1 will be where this ends.
Exactly. The Shaco getting stuck on the Scion, though, is not going to be great. The Kaisa applying Temerlos to everybody is going to really, really hurt the healing that Shaco will be able to do. And oh yeah, just the Victor cast as well. Not going to be a round or game win here for Yiggles, but she will have more opportunities to roll into these 3 stars and have that be the buff that she needs. Rolling, did not hit.
Hold.
Yeah, 10 gold. That plus 1 extra gold will be what she needs. And maybe even could get a Nikos from the neutrals as well, right? But
we might get a free round at 7-1 too, depending on the loss on this one. If we're over 15 HP, we could potentially lose a round at 7-1 and continue to play. But 7-1 is going to be the impact round here. I'm happy that we got that 10 gold. Just a little bit of extra scouting, just in case, because there's some last-minute changes or last-second changes that can happen. But now it's going to be the Shaco versus the Blitzcrank. We're going to get through that really quickly. This is the best backline access so far.
That's very nice. The Victor didn't even get a chance to ult.
Yeah, and the Kaisa is low as well. The Akali goes through it. The Akali's going to fall. This is pretty close. Zyra going to be doing a little bit of a Ziggs cosplay. So it's going to be the tanks versus the Syndicates, and the tanks should be fine. But again, what this should tell you is that this is winnable for Yiggles, right? We don't have that free round, but this is winnable.
It is winnable. Gonna have approximately 25-ish gold to roll with. The Rage Blade isn't fantastic, but hey, well, it really only was like a Zephyr or a Shroud or like some aura items that could have made this board a lot stronger. Don't quite know what Within has. Yiggles will scout that as a Shiv. That's gonna be good for the Victor, actually. Really good for the Victor. Well, Yiggles hit. It's basically, do you hit and win, or do you... Or I guess, do you hit and maybe win? Because it still could... Oh! The Shaco came through from an orb! What?
When was the last time you saw that happen?
Oh, Mort Dog was on Yiggles' side today. Can she hit the Echo as well? That's a big upgrade. Waiting.
Waiting with bated breath. That's what this means, everyone. No, it doesn't look like it, but we're going to keep it alive. Just in case, you never know. The game might mess up and give us an extra round. That probably won't happen. But round 7-1, this was always the round. Yiggles did get that tier 3 Shaco, and she actually positions it quite well here. Should get through that Camille, no problem. The Braum is going to get brought into the front line. That's really nice, too. It's going to be the Kaisa versus the World. Kaisa going to be safe in this first ultimate. Will the second one be just as safe? We're already on the Scion. In terms of timing, we're doing a little bit better, but in terms of damage, we are not. The Kaisa goes down, and so does Yiggles. 1-1-2, pretty good still, but it's going to be Within winning out that lobby.
Yeah, that was some great corner positioning. Actually, moving on over to lobby B as that one wraps up
Look
as
how
well. So we get
fancy.
a, yeah, that was smooth, seamless transition. What we have, Bruh in third, Spetham in second, and K-Pal currently in first place. 3 socialites. Victor with Academy.
Yeah, we've
Good
got
items though.
yeah, Rage Blade and the static on the Oriana. If you have a Rage Blade, static is one of the best to go along with it. This ult is going to be insane. The second ult for Victor is the much more impactful one. The first one's there to kind of get things going. The second one is there to win the round. Is Bruh Cubed is going to go back to the World Health Organization with -8 HP, but we'll see if that's enough. I think we saw him with an 8th place last round, but anything is possible. Is it Spetham versus K-Pal? Spetham with another, we have a top 2, top 3 last time around. We'll probably be seeing him in the top 8.
I believe so. With 8 points coming into K-Pal. Definitely needs this first. Spetham, however, probably pretty safe.
Victor in the front line, though. It worked out last time around, and it's very interesting. The later a patch gets, the mages get closer and closer to that front line. We get to that first ultimate so quick, and look, we're already on the second ultimate. Did we get the cast off? We did, but the Lux takes us down. Lux is that coin flip unit. Lux can take anyone down at any time, especially with this itemization. Does take him down as well. Gets a little bit of extra health because of the Celestial Blessing. K-Pal gonna fall to 1 HP. We have to make it to Lux. Again, we've seen this before in another lobby. If you
Oh
don't get to
no.
the Lux gets to you.
And the Shroud's gonna make it so much harder as well to get to that Lux with the Victor casts. And it's gonna be very telegraphed where exactly the Victor position is gonna be. The socialites. It's this is so rough, especially when you see like Bloodthirster for K-Pal and Shroud for Spetham. Like, ugh, feels bad.
It definitely does feel bad, especially since Bloodthirster's probably the item that we wanted the least. When it comes to the units that we are running currently. We got a couple 5-cost units going to get taken off of the board. What are we actually looking for? We found it, which is the Yumi, but it's keeping the Lux safe. We do have an opening next to the Lux we're set up like we're running Exiles, but we're really just being a little fancy.
Exactly. Spetham has won the last 4 rounds in a row, so not much that they have to do. Just kind of keep it the same, keep it going. Actually places the Shroud even before knowing where exactly Victor's gonna move to, but of course he's standing there in the socialite, same positioning. If Victor goes down, this could be it for K-Pal.
Interesting that we actually picked the same positioning since Lux knocked him down last time in that same position.
It works out.
It sure
Lux
does.
is down. Victor gets another cast off, heals back up, and all of a sudden, it is just fight RNG as the difference, Boop. It is going to be Spetham so close, but so far, goes out, and K-Pal gets a very necessary win for first place on that lobby. Maybe enough to get them into the top 8. We will see as I can work out all those scores, but what crazy lobbies, Boop. We
1
have
HP win.
1 HP win, Yiggles almost going 1-1-1. Like, there's so many storylines. There's double the opportunity for storylines to happen here because we have 16 players on Fight Night Rising. It's very, very exciting stuff, but I'm excited to see who we're going to have in our finals.
Yep. Before we used to just have everyone play all the time. Now we're going to eliminate half of the players based on their performance in these lobbies. Once we have the scores, we'll throw them up. But Khroen, as we move into the next round and we go into double points, we keep our points, right? What kind of strategies change from before in terms of Fight Night? Before you went in, it was 4 lobbies, you wiped your hands with it, you were done. Now that the points are doubled, what is kind of the process here?
Honestly, this is unprecedented, I think, for at least TFT formats that I have seen. I don't think I've ever seen a format where you keep points moving into a next stage when you thin out the players, as well as have, 20 points for a first, only 2 points for an 8th. That is a huge point gap, right? You gotta play consistently, I think, if you're on the top. And go first to Wraith if you're on the bottom. I think it still fits those sort of narratives, but let's go ahead and see which play style that players will have to take up as we take a look at first the lobby scores from last game. We saw within take down Yiggles for first place, and Yiggles at second lobby A, and K-Pal win over Spetham for top 2 in lobby B.
Yeah, so we know for sure that Yiggles and Spetham are definitely going to be making it. There it is. They're the top
Ooh,
two.
yep.
Asa within level 1 reft. K-Pal with that 10 points. Didn't quite need it. Put a little bit of sugar on the top, but definitely feels good. Yuki at 17 and Nextly at 16. But look at Yiggles' lead just in general in this lobby. This is why points being doubled is actually nice for players like Yuki and Nextly. So Yiggles needs to continue doing what she has been doing this entire time, and unfortunately, I think Nick Nack loses a tiebreaker here, so we'll have to wait until next time. But some really great players falling out here. Kuzma, the Common Quail, both from last week, both falling out. Fun to Go, we saw win a lobby pretty dominantly, but apparently it was not enough. But everyone looking up at Yiggles right now because she is on top of the totem pole. She is the one that is absolutely crushing it right now. Like we said, a first and a second going into this final phase.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest point gaps that you will see. Sometimes players will have such a breakout performance, go 1-1-1 and just kind of sweep up the competition. But Yiggles, with that in mind, is still not safe, right? Because of the point values being doubled, it is very possible for Nextly, even in just 2 games, to go like 1-1 or 1-2, and Yiggles have a couple of poor games and be, down there middle of the pack or bottom of the pack even. So we got to keep up, I think, with the same level of intention, the same play style, because clearly it's working out for Yiggles, so really shouldn't be changing it up too much. But what are your thoughts after just that first preliminary stage, Boop?
Yiggles and Spetham better watch out. The points are doubled, right? So, you might feel a little comfortable now, but you got to keep playing the way you are. If you just repeat the same kind of success, you're going to come out of here with some money and maybe even a win.
Definitely so. We'll see who comes away with the win in just a few minutes. Have a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll return with more Fight Night Rising brought to you by Wisdom. Welcome back, everybody, to Fight Night Rising. 3 games down, and now we enter the second stage of competition, the final lobby with the top 8 players from the first 2 lobbies and first 3 games. Boop, and the expectations, anyone you're going to be looking out for, surely Yiggles is out on top by a large margin, right? But anyone who you think might be able to take down Yiggles at this point in the day?
I think this is an easy answer, but I'm going to go with Spetham, who's currently in second place, who was one of the few that we saw flex on both types of comps in these last couple games. We got to see AP and AD from Spetham, but in terms of what we're seeing overall, Yordle's not great. Everything else seems like they have like a little bit of a place in the lobby, but as of right now, I think Spetham has the best chance of beating someone like Yiggles based on the way that they play. I think the flexible players get a really nice advantage in a true lobby final like this one.
Okay, very, very interesting. I know a lot of the point totals are very close between, say, like 3rd to 8th. There's only a 3-point gap, right, between ASUN all the way down to Nexthy. Spetham and Yiggles, however, are, top 2. Yiggles very far ahead. But again, there are players I think are very strong and have shown certain levels of intelligence in both their play and their recognition, to get to this point. Nexthy, Yunyuki, Asa, even within taking that previous game lobby win, they were on the bubble, but when they needed to play for a first, they did it. They executed, and that surely is not to go ignored. But just a little bit until we get into game. Meta trends, we've seen still players going for some talent directions when it looks good. And for Assassins, right, a couple times we've seen Shaco perform very, very well, even if it's not able to win lobbies. Even if Shaco 3 does get taken down by, Scion that it gets stuck on forever, it's still a strong composition, it seems.
If a unit ever gets stuck on a unit like that, eventually I just want them to hug. Right? Be like, it's okay, just go. We're fine. We know what will happen.
Just stop hitting me.
Yeah, just stop hitting me.
It's not going to end well for you.
Yeah, just leave the board. Because that does happen. But kind of the piggyback off of what you said, the Shaco 3 has top forward every time we've seen it, right? And that might be enough for this particular score system. And like you said, everything that we're saying in terms of strategically what we might use here is all just theory crafting, because we haven't seen this type of system just yet. And I'm really excited to see how it all comes through. And the other person, if we're going to point out another person, you said it, is Asa. Asa kind of, some people did know about him, but kind of came out of nowhere in terms of mainstream TFT on that last Challenger series, has been doing some content with Jirachi, for example, and has really kind of taken over TFT so far with his poker knowledge. And like you said, that is just a super easy one-to-one comparison in terms of game type and game thought processes. And I just want to see him play more, right? Get him in more lobbies, put him up against some of these players, and see if he's going to be able to consistently beat them, as I would expect a qualifier to do.
Exactly. I think actually going further, for Fight Night Rising, we always feature players who are up-and-comers, right? And I think that in specifically sets 5 and 6 have be really good and informative about seeing which of these players can really tangle with the best. I think Asa is one of those players that have come out of the mold being able to perform when it comes to the highest level of TFT play. And, started, playing in some of these competitions like Fight Night Rising. I think Spicy Appies is another one, a now starting to be a lot more well-known of a player. And I think that we can throw potential names into perhaps moving forward into set, 6.5 and set 7, names like Nexthy, names like Yiggles. I think that they could definitely be joining those ranks of really breakout competitors. They've had some small-time success, but I think it's maybe a matter of time, maybe a matter of something. But what's your eye?
I just
here?
like this. This augment is like my favorite kind of cards to get, because I love playing big characters. I don't know why. There are a lot of jokes you can say. Just say them in your head, and I'll laugh at them for you. But we didn't pick either of those. We went with the Arcanist one, which is the most flexible of the two. You're not going to get any of those Titanic, Force, or the Colossus benefits until you get that Cho'Gath, which is tier 3. And we all know if we play Mercs how hard it is sometimes to get a tier 3 unit early. So we're going to be using the one that we can use right now. And we got an early Malzahar too, so we're feeling okay about our choice.
Early Malzahar, early Arcanist, potential here. Could go for Arcanist very easily. Swain is a very good frontliner, right? The only thing that's better to frontline as an Arcanist is Vex. End up getting a bow, but that's okay, right? Bow is an item that can, again, lead into both trees, AD and AP. And what do you know? We have a Pier there to slam an early game Shiv. If Yiggles doesn't want to go for just fully committing for Lux items, which she could from this spot. But Shiv, of course, would be the best for the early game and still will scale well for the entirety of the game.
Yep, she was our Lux 3 player in the first lobby and won it against a Cho'Gath with approximately 8.3 million HP, give or take a few. We have our Syndicate crest now. Where some sorry, it looks so funny to see the Syndicate. Any Yordle with like an extra little buff to it, but these Syndicates don't have any chance against this Warwick, which we haven't seen at all. We haven't seen any Warwick play at all today.
I think the only Warwick we've seen is a part of that 8 challenger board. That's just because he's a challenger,
that got
right?
6th.
Yeah, and that wasn't even great. Hey pal, constantly changing the camera exposure.
That's good because he actually has some amazing board games. If I were to are you gonna be my friend based on your board game choices? There's some standards back there. Just saying. So we have that in common. If you ever want to talk board games with me, friends, just hit me up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Same thing. I know Khroen's super into the TTRPG too, so if you ever just want to hang out, we're here. We're available.
Chat some nerdy stuff. I mean, that's why we're all here, right? Playing games. We're all into some games, tabletop, online video games, all those kind of things, and we're here for each other.
Exactly. Gamers support gamers. And so these syndicates will probably lose once again, though the Vex might be a little bit of an issue if we do get an early tier 2 version of it. But K-Pal doesn't expect to win based off of what we're putting on the board right now, as Spetham is got a lot on that bench, and we do have those Yordles printing.
Yordles printing and even more Yordles in the shop, right? This is actually 6 Yordles that Spetham has already. Obviously can't play 6 of them yet. I believe it was a double 8th for the 6 Yordle player. Was it? I'm actually not sure about that. Yeah, I think it was. Hypnoticus did go 8th. Running Yordles, so not great. And you think you mentioned it actually coming into this game. 6 Yordles is kind of the only thing that hasn't really worked. Everything else has had some moments of success.
Yep, it is definitely true. But Spetham now showing us a little bit different, but I think the bodyguard crest on the Vex is a big deal as why this might be a little bit more successful. Yordles benefit from spats so much because when you do run that 6 Yordles, you're kind of locked into the 6 Yordles and whatever you can get out of them. Maybe you can splash your Enchanter because of Lulu, but other types of splashes can be a little bit more difficult. But when you get that splash, all of a sudden you can breathe a little bit more, and adding flexibility to that comp is what makes it dangerous.
Exactly. See what kind of choices these players are going to make with the items that they have. A belt was available for Spetham. Going to grab a bow here, but I don't really think that's going to be a ZZ Rot Slam by any means. Just wants more Tristana items. Bow can go into things like Giant Slayer. Another Vex popping out. Bit of a high roll. Yordle odds were changed a little bit ago to be less likely to roll those 3-cost Yordles. And way more likely to roll the 1 costs. But yeah, the bow does go on the Trist. Still 10 gold. Not a bad opener for Spetham, especially considering 4 bodyguards on the table. And that is very hard to get through in the early game. I think the only unit that does great at getting through this is like exactly Twisted Fate. Everyone else, though, is just mostly going to be auto attacks that don't do well against 4 bodyguards.
Yeah, Twisted Fate, those cards go through the units, so you actually can get into the backline. Bodyguard Vex has always been pretty good. You just start with that shield, so you get to that ultimate, and the shield doesn't even go away before we get to that first ultimate. That's why you'll see Bodyguard emblems get put on ranged units a lot. It's to get to that first ultimate. The other ones are going to be there, but we do not have a ton of damage. The Tristana trying her little Yordle art out right now, but eventually this is going to go the way of the giantslayer, or maybe not actually, especially now that we're in overtime. I may have spoken too soon. It's going to be the Tristana versus the Heimerdinger, and Tristana takes the dub. I actually think we won a little bit of a underdog situation there, as Asa is going to be the one that we're looking up at top of the totem pole right now, the 100 HP, and it's probably because of this locket.
Wow. Imperial Emblem and a Locket Slam. 100
That's
HP. It. Yeah. Every unit provides some value here. The Locket buffing all of them, effectively just more HP. Asa is very, very smart, right? Talk about the fact Asa's from a poker background and translates a lot of those very just hyper analytical skills, I suppose, at different situations and analyzing board strength, and does that very effectively. Asa probably will stick with Imperials for the whole game, right? Because of that initial choice. Will it be for more Swain potential? Will it be for, Talon, Samira? It kind of depends, because the items are very, very flexible. You're not committing into any Talon items at the moment. The sword could go for Samira. The tier could go something Swain related. So it kind of just depends.
The second someone slams a Bramble, though, this team comp will fall off a cliff. If someone slams a Bramble, that's a big reason why you actually saw that Twitch get through so much HP, because you're probably not going to see the Imperial stick on the unit like Twitch, but the Locket is just so huge right now. It's just so hot. It's so in right now.
It's so in.
It's so in and fashionable. It's like mustaches and mullets.
Is that in? Is that
mustaches and mullets are totally back in, man.
Oh wow, I missed the memo on that one, but I'm still rocking afro, so it's not like I have much of a much of a say in these things.
Yeah, I can't grow a mustache, and the mullet might happen. That could be a bet one day.
A bet, yeah, just like the Spartan race one. Yeah.
Hey, Khroen, friends are supposed to support friends. I'm just kidding. If I need you to lie for me, then you can do that.
Oh yeah, for sure I will, 100%.
There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No,
I got you.
We get some items from Krugs. We could potentially go Shojins. We could potentially go Chalice if you want to continue stacking some items onto this Twitch, but we unfortunately didn't really get direction. So I wonder what these items turn into if we just even kind of just chill until the carousel.
A lot of players win streaking. Usually don't really see 3 players doing that at this point. It looks like okay, gonna be leveling up to play Scrap here on the Echo. While we don't get value out of any item slams, right? We're gonna be just generating items every round anyway. The position should have been a little bit different there in case of that Echo rolling into
it's an Urgot too.
Wait.
Yep, at 3-1.
Wait.
Gotta love it.
And it's losing.
That's the second time that has happened with Urgot 2. Look at those crits from that Twitch. I mean, it's just this comp loses until HP gets wins until HP gets into the game, right? There is no damage increase with like a Last Whisper or something. This is raw damage coming from Imperials and Assassins, and once people start building defense, this comp will start hurting. But that's how a Twitch can get through a tier 2 Urgot like that. It's just not enough time was given to the Urgot to do anything.
And that was a level 5 still having 30 gold on 3-1 Urgot 2 with the augment not providing any value there. It was only a Celestial Blessing augment. I don't know if some Nikos dropped in the early game or what, but that is absolutely wild. And like you're saying, even more wild that it lost as well.
Yeah, and it lost hard. It wasn't even close, and this Twitch is stalking us, which is a good thing if you're that Twitch player. That's exactly what you should be doing. But this Locket, you're seeing these Assassins not even take HP damage until halfway through the round. And if you're going up against other Assassins, the Lockets are going to beat the ones without the Lockets. That's literally always how it's been with Assassins. Yep. There was a short little period of time where it was just, do you have Locket or not? As if you're going to win or not, as we did high roll in 2x2 here on this board for Raft. And the triple missile misses the Tristana, and the Tristana takes him down. The bottom 4, though, hemorrhaging HP at the moment, as this augment, not as fancy as some of the other ones, but I think the players are probably feeling okay with some simplicity.
In the door there, checking it. Okay, no one there. All right, time to go back to play some TFT. Make sure you position all of our units to get knife's edge value. Didn't pick that one up there. Shaco benefiting from it, but okay, here we go.
Oh man, I just remember during the beginning of quarantine when kids would like break into interviews and stuff. I was hoping that we might have been having one of those situations where like a mom comes in with like a tray of food. It's like, honey, and you know, and it's like
I'm
that
playing
stuff
a tournament
happens
right now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, can you pause it? Dinner's ready.
No, can't pause. Can't pause TFT.
So cute. Anyway, back, I know, right? Back to reality right now on the convergence, and we just need some stronger units here. People are thin, a lot of damage, not a lot of ways to mitigate it other than the Leona. Tier 1 cat there just to kind of help with at least one charge of the academy. We haven't been seeing any mutants so far other than Cho'Gath in that first lobby, and we finally get to see the Urgot get going.
There we go. That's the Urgot that we know and expect to see in, stage 3 being Urgot 2, even with only, one completed item. That is going to be well enough. Actually, weak spot was the pick there for the Urgot board, so might not go that Lost Whisper direction, might not feel like they need to. Instead, with that bow, might just go Runans, and then some defensive component for the last, or defensive item for the last, like a Quicksilver or a Guardian Angel.
We definitely want some upgrades here for level 1 in terms of bottoming out. It could be worse, but KPL on the low end for sure.
Yep.
I mean, these comps are starting to look pretty strong on the top side. So
they got dual rule as well with the Imperial emblem, so that's full leaning into that Imperial.
So the tempo of this lobby definitely faster than the last one that we saw in complete our complete lobby that we saw last round. But on terms of this one, the power at the top seems to be the one that is gauging the rest of the lobby, which is why you're seeing lower health totals at the bottom, and Asa and Spetham at 90 and 100 HP respectively.
Okay, Pal down at 48. Level 1 Raft at 57. Level 1 Raft has a decent amount of gold, though. It looks like they may stick with this Shaco Syndicate direction. They do have Rich Get Richer and are making everything, every bit of economy they can with it, right? They are at 70 gold because you can get up to 7 interest with that Rich Get Richer. The rounds are still going to be losses, however. Level 1 Raft is not strong by any means. That hopefully, for their sake, will change once we do get into stage 4, though. Actually, not a bad loss there.
A lot closer than I think it should have been. Lux 1 not that great without items, friends. You really want that IE Jeweled Gauntlet. That's when you're going to get those resets. KPal going to fall from the Yordle Bodyguard here. Again, the lower part of the lobby needs to start making something happen as, everyone's still printing their Yordles. This is still a pretty good time to print them, but we should be getting away from it here moderately shortly.
Could get away from them. Could actually just keep Heimer being that main primary carry. It'll do a good job of it, especially once we do get a blue buff to come through. Hopefully that will come through in the form of a tier dropping on the Wolves round. Next the 2 items. Urgot 2. Rough matchup. Maybe can win though.
See, but this is a more appropriate time to have an Urgot.
Oh yeah,
too. So that might definitely help.
It's still quick.
That might definitely. That definitely
hey,
will
like how
help. I know, right? And so the Morello's enough for the Lysandra in the Urgot. Doing work, but not as much as you would come to expect, as Yiggles definitely seems to have stabilized, but Svetham and Asa still dominating the lobby.
Yes, they are. Still 100 HP, 90 at the top there. Yuki did win that last round rather convincingly. Lysandra 2 upgrade was certainly a big boost there. I guess the question is, when does Yuki take out the Ziggs and start rolling into their end-of-game comp? They sold a Heimer already, so they don't really want to go Heimer 3. That is what that does mean. And with that, we'll be pushing level 8. Any tiers? Yes, we have a tier dropping. Blue buff Ziggs. He is so much stronger than he was, and actually an IE. But Pandoras are going to roll those items into completely different things. 2 rods. Any death caps? Probably not. We'll see.
Any fashionistas in the house needing to go to a haberdashery to get a death cap?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, death cap not necessarily the greatest item in the world. That's why you don't really see declaws. That's also why the only magic mitigation that a lot of people have been using has been Gargoyle Stoneplate. Like the only threat that a lot of people have had with magic damage are in the late game with Lux and Victor. So a lot of people have been waiting to build that magic damage mitigation. But yeah, Rabadon's death cap not really incredibly popular right now.
No, it's okay, but yeah, as you said, not incredibly popular. I do have a question for you, Boop. How does 2 rods make a hat?
It happens at the haberdashery, Khroen. They're professionals, okay?
I guess.
All right.
So.
Don't doubt the professionals. Just buy the hat and leave. Okay.
Don't ask questions. Just
okay.
Buy your hat and get out of there.
Yeah, how it's made is not, and man, that I couldn't even finish that because that's like a big deal to me actually. But how it's made is not important, okay? Whatever alchemy is happening in the back of the store is not up to you to decide if it's important to you, okay? Let me work on my perpetual motion machine and let them work on the alchemy, okay?
All right, clearly we're very passionate about how 2 rods make a hat, so I won't question it further. I believe you.
Okay, that's how it happens. You don't have to know. Okay, but they definitely just kind of like melt it down and put it in a form.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
Because if the large rods are made out of metal, then that's definitely the way to do it.
Oh yeah. For sure.
What about you? What do you think happens?
I think it's just magic. That's my theory. It's not supposed to make sense. It's just magic. 2 rods, just the formula, and
it's like one of those things. Like if you don't believe in it, then it doesn't happen. Right? It's like believe. It's like the magic. If you believe, then it'll work.
The power of intention.
Exactly. I love it. And we are back to TFT, friends, because the power of intention is what can bring us a victory versus a second place. The top 2 here about double the HP totals of everyone else in the lobby. K-Pal, Yiggles have started to, I thought Yiggles had stabilized, but it doesn't seem like it, as the power levels at 4-1 seem to have surpassed those of Yiggles and K-Pal, who are doing okay in stage 3, but no one doing as well as Asa, still at 100 HP.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to be 100 HP still at this point in the game. We saw one instance of that earlier, but I can bring that to obviously like K-Pal down there at 29. Yiggles actually not having a great game this time around. Has hit some decent stuff though. Still on a pair of Swains, pair of Vexes, but this Malzahar is pressured to do a lot of work, and was the Tristan and the Jin damages. Oh wow, it's actually enough. That was an explosive fight there, but Yiggles comes out on top.
Yeah, explosive in a literal sense of the word. And here's another reason why you don't really see death caps is multiple chalices, I think, is better. It gives about the same amount of... It spreads out the AP, but it's flat AP, and you can build other things and other units for it. So you don't have to take up a whole item spot on a carry for your Rabadons, as Spetham now has those 4 snipers, something that we haven't seen a ton of. Jin was kind of the talk of the town before the patch launched, and we haven't really seen a ton of it find success. We saw some Scion Jin top 4, but nothing that's taken over those lobbies.
Yeah, and Scion Jin I think is the kind of direction you do want to go with that. So when I see those, kind of pop up and be strong, nothing crazy happening though with dominating lobbies. Do have a Jin 2 actually coming through from Spetham here on the 4-5 roll down. That Tristan immediately gets sold, and here we go, perfect item Jin if we're not concerned about defensive items. And yeah, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer can get through literally anything.
This is how you get through the Cho'Gath. This is where the regular auto attacks become a threat when it comes to that Jin. Double Sniper, still going to get a little bit of extra damage from it. And we also have cybernetic implants with the bodyguard, so we also have more HP than a normal Jin would have. And you're already seeing just the regular auto attacks taking down 2 units for that Jin. Everything else here close to one-shotting.
Yeah, the snipes are just tearing through, also nearly one-shotting everything. That's K-Pal dropping to single-digit HP, it looks like there. Yes, 7. Still has a Nico's help. Needs that help immediately. More or loss could be their last in this lobby.
Same for
Likely
me, but
be.
not just Nico's. Oh, here's a
Hey,
prismatic. Everyone loves to see that. Makeshift
that's fun.
armor, celestial blessing, high roller. Two of those aren't awful. Makeshift armor is not bad for this team, especially
Yeah,
since two people are the ones with the carries. Um, celestial always good, pretty generalized. Good for I saw Fiora there, really good for Fiora.
I think actually all these options are at least considerable here. The makeshift, like you mentioned, great for the front line. Celestial Blessing, good for the healing that isn't quite there. It is going to be Celestial. Okay, no loaded dice. You know that could have helped with finding Yone too, and
Kaisa.
with Kaisa too. Yeah, but I guess the Yone only has 1.5 items, not near best in slot. We only have one out of the 2 components for Morello's for that Kaisa.
Yeah,
With the
so this
Raptors give.
is a Fiora comp right now, especially
Oh,
with
100%.
Celestial. Kaisa should be able to work with Celestial. There's an Imperial 5 comp on the board as well, and Yuki is going to be the one that's on fire with this 5 Innovator comp. The Morello's still on the Lissandra, but it's going to be
Oh,
the
wow.
Heimerdinger that's carrying here.
Lissandra goes down in the first Fiora ultimate, and Fiora's going to be healing up, still has the GA. As long as Heimer doesn't burst her down, Fiora could win the round. Even still, no. Just ambient damage there, cleaning her up right after the GA. Unlucky timing, because if Fiora got that ult off, killed the Heimer, could have been going completely the other way.
Yep, that's just one of those units that you can never count out until it's actually dead, is that Fiora. She can 1v4 so easily, especially with something like Celestial Blessing, where you can assume that most of that HP will be coming back to you after that ultimate. Yiggles at 8 points, opening up potentially the win for literally everyone else in the lobby. Let's see if we're going to be able to stabilize there. Though seeing that, it doesn't seem like it. We had a 6 Imperial comp on the board, on another board, but Asa losing 2 to 3 rounds in a row. Spetham not doing that. So the top of the lobby still about, we've lost a little bit of that lead, but we're almost double still from within. Everyone else still trying to catch up.
Yeah, this is around the time where you're going to be losing a little bit of HP if you are streaking at 100, unless you've super, super high rolled the game. Level 1 Raph getting some good items there. Has Morello's for that Kaisa, but Yiggles, the front line is still nearly non-existent. I mean, maybe a declaw can go on this Vex. We're going to even get Vex 2, though. I mean, surely you Nico's it if you don't find the victors. You need to survive. Every single round is worth it because, again, remember, this isn't the TFT that we're really used to, Boop. The point values are doubled. That's going to make that point gap even wider from 8th to 1st.
And again, the 5th to 4th is the other one that you really have to look at.
Nico's.
We are going to make the Dragon's Claw here. We do have a good amount of AP in this lobby. This is a second Heimerdinger. We've got Luxes around here as well, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work as this is looking to be an 8 Arcanist comp. Victor ult, not in time. That goes 1 auto attack earlier. That's a win for the Victor.
That's actually a Nico's div. If she Nico's, the Vex 2 should have survived. I mean, maybe you can't always say that's the incorrect play, right? Maybe Eagles is like, okay, if I lose this round, whatever, but if I just barely win and use my Nico's, that's not gonna be enough to actually like get a placement higher or like actually be worth it. So it's just a calculated risk that unfortunately didn't go Yiggles' way. It does feel a bit weird though to lose with a Nico still on the bench.
So this last lobby is going to be all or nothing for pretty much everybody, which is going to be awesome for the viewing experience, but probably pretty anxiety-inducing for our players here. As Asa doing what we expect Asa honestly should be doing, which is winning out on these lobbies. We have the Shaco Imperial once again. Yeah, maybe we saw it earlier in the day. We were a little excited by it, and then but we have the Bloodthirster here, which is again, Bloodthirster is not very great on many units, but Shaco is one of the units that can use it the best. It's Shaco versus the world now. We're not on the Fiora, so the Shaco will not win. Asa loses out. 5 Imperials not enough, and last time we saw 5 Imperials, they hadn't started falling off until much later in the game than we're at right now. So the fact that we're losing some of these rounds is a little concerning, but we do have the opportunity to get even stronger here, especially now that we're popping some of these Imperial badges off.
Yeah, I think it is okay given the fact that Asa is clearly trending towards going level 9 instead of rolling it down for some 3 stars. Is not going to go for Shaco 3, at least right now. Could still high roll into it, But I mean, the augments for Asa is just Imperials and more Imperials and dual rule to make sure there are more Imperial carries. It is all in on this train, and he is wanting to go level 9, hit the Akali too, and have her be one of the main Imperial carries alongside the Shaco. I think this is great, and he's using his HP as a resource to first place this lobby once we get into some Stage 6 gameplay.
Yuumi is a good unit. It locks up that Shaco, no problem there. And Heimerdinger probably having the best in a couple different comps, the best lobby of the day. Just in general, might be because there are just other Heimerdinger lobbies, which means that those lobbies are inherently a little skinnier, which means Heimerdinger is going to do a little better. But overall, Heimerdinger are doing quite well. Would love to see Asa, just for the memes, grab this Imperial spat. But no, he's smarter than me. We'll pick something else instead.
Yeah, I mean, could have gotten rid of the Scion and just run more Assassins, I guess. But yeah, no, Lion's a good unit. You want to keep him in there. He's an Imperial too, so it's all working out great.
Some of the best CC in the game.
Yep.
We're gonna get the Runin's Hurricane on the Talon. Our Imperials are the Akali and the Shaco. Once again, maybe some changes might be worthwhile here. In terms of positioning, where are you going to put your Assassins? Are you going to keep where Isa is putting them now, or are you going to put them elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to at least be just swapped around depending on, left or right, which is better for the matchup. Not really further or back. I think third or fourth row to have most of your non-Assassins is good to, de-corner the other units. Jhin is still very alive in the back line and not under threat. And with that, lines him up, knocks him down. Asa should be getting concerned here. Does, again, have a lot of HP, but he's down to 40, so it's quickly depleting and needs to get level 9, as well as roll into these upgrades. He's about 90 gold, needs to start making it happen, I think, right after this upcoming neutral round.
All right, level 10. For Yuki, and this is what happens when you go to level 10 with no money. You get an extra unit and an extra synergy, but that might be it. But with something like Fiora, that means we get the Enforcer synergy in, and we're going to get a little bit of extra help. But this is where Innovator 5, talk about a comp that falls off. You need the dragon in order to break through some of these front lines at this point in time. Because if you look at these units, not a ton of them scream damage, especially if that Seraphine's at tier 1. So Giant Slayer Heimerdinger is going to be where a lot of this will be riding. We did lose that last round, but we did win one before it, so hope is definitely still there. But that Bodyguard spat doing some work for that Vex. And, whenever you see a Jhin like this, I just, sometimes you just hope that you built a Frozen Heart or something to just, because he can't gain attack speed, but when he loses it, he loses flat damage. And that's kind of like the only thing that I can think of outside of just positioning that can potentially help with that Jhin.
Yeah, definitely. It's just unfortunate. A little bit too weak there. As you mentioned, maybe if some of those units are upgraded, like the Seraphine, the Jaina as well, I think is a big one. Could have been a different story. Asa maybe considering going for Scion 3, but no, is not going to be potentially baited by that. Could have hit, sure, would have been okay. But a Gunblade for this Akali, I think, is a very solid item. A lot of pivots are happening right now.
Identified that the Imperials that we were using in that last round were just never going to be enough to win, but we knew that. That's why we lost all that HP like we did. And now look at the board, right? We have a bunch of 5-cost units, we got a bunch of 5-cost pairs, and we're at level 9 to push that even further. We need this Jace, though, and we need some time. Asa's brain working double time. Mine doesn't work like this. I have to physically say out loud what I'm doing. As an Imperial spat on Yone, that's what I do. But Locket gonna go on to the Jace. Now our intention fading a little bit. A lot of choices, and props to even get all the items on in time.
A lot of choices here. Gets all the items. Even gets well, if there was scrap, it would have been a scrap item on the Blitzcrank, but not quite. A lot of good things happened there, but a lot of things still need to happen. The Fiora's not upgraded. Yone is still vulnerable, doesn't have really defensive items there, and that's going to be a big hit by level 1 Raph there. Ace only has one more turn to make this happen, even rolling during this phase. Has gotten top 4 at least, But still, this would feel, I think, rather bad from Ace's position if he was that far ahead, that far leaning into Imperials, and only gets a 4th.
At one point, he was over 40 HP ahead of 3rd place. So that 40 HP lead has completely gone away, and this roll down was not good.
Not hitting anything.
Yeah, didn't hit anything. Literally one of the 5 cost units getting hit might have changed the way things were going. So we're going to push off of the... Yeah, we're a little dizzy. Or maybe dizzy's not the right word. We're a little kind of walking the plank right now. Especially since Yone has been really, really not good so far today.
Really not good. Really bad.
Any of our underperforming a lot on a lot of our lobbies so far.
And that will be it for Asa in this game. A very disappointing finish. I'd actually be very curious to get Ace's perspective on what exactly happened in that game. And I mean, in any TFT game, you can go a lot of different directions. He could have just stayed level 8, could have stayed 7, rolled for Shaco 3, continued with that assassin direction. Could have continued to go Akali, rolled for Akali 2, and that might have been better. There's no right answer. It's just that we know, based off of Ace's decisions, certainly didn't seem like the right one because he didn't hit.
All right, we have the Jace in the backline now with the bodyguard, and the bodyguard. The phase gate's actually going to be really, really nice for both of the Jinzes. I feel like Jin is probably Jin plural. I feel like that makes sense. Like
Jinai.
Yeah, Moonies.
Jean. Never
Jeans. We got a Jeans comp right now, but we got some good CC here onto the Jin. Everyone is spread out, but we have some crossfire now from the Jin on the other side. This is the closest so far that we've seen Spetham have to take it, and that is kind of the crux of that unit, right? Is sometimes Jin will get taken down during the ultimate cast, and I think that's probably why you said Shojin was a little low-key good on the unit a little earlier. But we have a top 2, friends. We'll see how long Spetham can take it, especially since Within hasn't lost in a while.
Yeah, Within's coming off of a lobby win in the last game. Certainly kind of on fire right now and is in this game as well. The frontline Brahms are doing a lot of work, being 3 items. Jace 2 comes through, and he's going to be suddenly moved into the front line. No more acceleration gate, which was, helping the Jins out in the back line. I think that's okay. I think Jace is going to be doing a lot more, have a lot more value being in front here.
There's a word that TFT players like more than value. I don't know what it is.
What?
I mean, TFT players try to get the most value out of everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we'll see if that value does come through.
Yes. Value is the word, right?
Yeah. And so we have the ZZ Rot bodyguard. You're already going to be taunting with bodyguard, so ZZ Rot is a nice little extra unit as well. The positioning here is a little bit better for Spetham. This could be a turnaround win.
Especially the Braum can get one more ult off. And wow, the Fiora goes down. Within drops to 3 HP there. This board is so strong. It's really crazy, actually. The value of the front line with 4 bodyguards, that bodyguard emblem that we had all the way from the beginning, like, that's why I think we talked about it in previous weeks. 4 bodyguards, one of the best synergies that you can get for your front line. The flexibility of who you want to put that bodyguard emblem on, whether it be a backline carry, a frontliner that's not traditionally a bodyguard like Jace here. It's just so much value, and we see Perfect Item Jhin doing what Jhin is supposed to do.
Okay, avoids a gnarly hook. The hook will actually get on the Janna, which is a pretty good choice, especially if the ult goes through. Can be helpful for our team. It doesn't, but we get a ult onto the target dummy, and this one not looking as good as the last one, but we do have the ult come through right now, and we might actually be able to make this back. Oh, is it going to be the Jhin with no items, though? Jhin versus Jhin. It looks like we're going to be going to round 7.
That was a Fiora diff there. The Fiora got into the backline, took out the primary carry Jhin. But it wasn't even that much damage difference between primary carry Jhin and 0-item Jhin. It was only like 2k or something. Jhin's just a good unit to have, especially in boards where you're splashing in Clockwork or Snipers or things like that. Very nice. We see Ionic versus a Sunfire, and Sunfire actually will get some good value on this board. There's no Morellos, no Sunfire already, no Sunfire board. I do like that RNG. not the worst. In fact, it was pretty good.
Oh, and we got a Reforger anyway, so if we didn't like it, we could just do it again.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to keep it, or if we're going to reforge anything.
Reforging is very risky. Could roll into something a lot worse. Still rolling for the potential of a Gen 3, and hey, there's one. Only 2 more to go. Not going to hit this turn, it looks like, at least.
Yeah, the Gen... We do have... Oh, Chalice!
That's very good.
Yeah. Chalice is going to help out a couple different units here. Wonder where we're going to put it. It's going to go on the Misfortune. Or Oriana. Or it's going to go on whoever's in the middle of the gens.
Yeah. Didn't quite know, but now we do. It's going to be the Misfortune.
Yeah, these genes are going to try to win out this round. Right here, right now.
The Fiora gets taken out very quickly, though. I think this fight is very likely to go over to Spetham. The Jhin is unbothered in the back line there. There is no way he's going to get touched, especially with that Braum frontliner. It ults just a target dummy, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, this fight is going to be over. The game's going to be over. Spetham takes it.
That's huge.
A bit of a pop-off there as we're going to, again, remember, get double points. That is 20 points for that victory, Boop. These last 2 games really, really turn up the pressure, turn up the heat, turn up the potential scoring, and getting a first place overall on the tournament.
And Spetham was in second. So what Spetham wanted to happen happened like exactly for what Spetham needed to get into this last lobby and have the best chance at winning. We'll throw those scores up here in just a second. But what I really want to point out again is that there's 20 points up for grabs on this last lobby. So we don't quite know who's going to be taking it all just yet.
It makes it completely different, right? It's just a completely different dynamic, but let's go ahead and take a look at the scores. We can try to piece together this narrative here. With that victory, I like how this looks, by the way, but like with that victory, Spetham goes to 42 points. Well above Within and Yiggles. Yiggles with that drops to being tied for 4th place, even though she got first, second. But once you get into that final 2 games, if you have a poor placement, really, really get punished. It is still within reach of everyone in the top 6, I think, or maybe top 5 to get a first place overall in the night. Even top 6, actually, yeah. Yeah,
everyone can still top 4 as well. So everyone can come back next week still going into this last game. So there are stakes for literally everyone here. And just to show like how interesting this particular set of games that we've had so far is our last place participant has a lobby win. Our 3rd place participant has 2 lobby wins, right? And our 1st place participant didn't have one until this particular lobby, when it's most important, when most of the points are up for grabs. And now that things are doubled, the amount of points in between each one become doubled, and now we have started to get a lead going. So we just need to finish a couple points or a couple places ahead of Within and Yiggles, and we'll feel pretty great about that. But there are definitely some wild cards here. I think Raft has played really well today. I think Asa has played really well today, and literally everyone has had a moments. Like I said, K-Pal, who's in 8th place, has a lobby win. So everyone is capable of making that happen. It's all about making it happen at the right time. Opportunity meeting preparation, potentially, for our last lobby.
100%. And I love pointing out this little statistic as well. The only player out of the 16 that we've had over the course of 4 games to top 4 every single game is Spetham. Got third, second, and now at first. Has been scaling as well as being consistent. So if he's able to, keep that consistency going, probably going to win overall on the night.
Yep.
Very, very interesting. But of course, any pop-off game from someone like, Level 1 Raft and Asa, who have had really good performances overall tonight, could also take it. It really just comes down to what happens this game, Boop. It's some good stuff, some good TFT happening.
I'd probably avoid Imperials if I was Asa. That did not go well for us.
It was like...
I don't know if it was necessarily Imperials. It was just we got into like the forever pivot almost, right? Which we made so many decisions that eventually the amount of decisions we made were making our good decisions worse. Spetham leading the charge right now, 4 lobbies in. It is tough to go into the last lobby in first place and win it out, but will Spetham be able to do it? We will find out.
Here, right now, in Game 5. running off with a belt as well. And actually, I'm glad, we look over, saw a little bit of chat perspective, on twitch.tv/giantslayer of course. And Asa said, okay, going fourth from that spot, am I the worst TFT player ever? And
Okay.
actually, I want to highlight that because we were kind of talk about the same concepts in the game as well. Like from that spot, it seemed so unlikely that Asa would bot 4, but he kind of, I mean, it sounds weird to say it, but found a way to do so with making a lot of pivots happen. There was a lot of different lines to go, and even Asa recognizes that, yeah, that should not have happened that way. So I don't think that, Imperials from that spot were by any means bad, right? It was good. You got to that spot. You had such an HP lead. There's just a lot of different choices that could have been made, and I mean, we learn from every TFT game, right? We learn if something doesn't work out, hey, don't go that line next time. Maybe you pivot into one of the other Imperial lines. Just depends. But even Asa knows that, could have done a lot better there. It feels like he should have done a lot better there.
I totally agree, and knowing that you can do better is just a part of being better at the game, right? This happens. I used to teach music lessons, and when you're a better musician, you notice more of the things that you do wrong. So sometimes it just feels like you're not getting better. It's really, really important to separate moments away from habits, right? Because they can get confusing. As we have our first augments here, we have a completed item. Ooh! That's a last whisper coming in from a random item orb, along with just an extra sword. So if we're not going AD at this point, you're doing it wrong. We got a Tarek to help out. We got Zillion. We know that Anyuki likes to run innovators.
Ooh.
And we actually, probably the fastest mouse movement in the lobby. As well. Pretty impressed by Onyuki just in general throughout the day. Pretty consistent player. Hasn't had that like pop-off moment, but sometimes in TFT you don't. You just need to get those top 4. So we just got to play a little bit more consistently, and I think Onyuki will have a good amount of opportunities in the future based on what we're seeing.
100%. Being able to be level 4, 10 gold, over 10 gold even. Innovator opener. This is a good start for Yunyuki. I think we've seen some promising stuff from Yunyuki. I think Yunyuki was the player that we saw like a huge pivot all happen, and it was great. And then we saw like the same, like trying to then salvage that pivot because it wasn't quite what it needed to be, but then have that be like very slow a couple rounds later. But Yunyuki can do it. There's potential, I think, for this player to have a pop-off game. 25 points coming into this one. I think they're on the cusp. They're currently in 6th. We might be seeing them next week if they have a good game here.
All right. The way that this lobby goes is if you got a top 4, right? K-Pal,
At least, yeah.
a little frustrated right now on what is available to them. We have the innovators on the board. We won our last round, so we have that 100 HP, but we want a streak. And so the next round is definitely not a guaranteed win based off of what we have right now. At least we have innovators to start, so we have like an extra unit at level 3. But is it enough to keep a streak going?
Is it? Probably not. Probably not. No item slams. Just 3 innovator. Not going level 4 at all. A lot of things filling up the bench as well. PayPal just keeping options open. Up against Asa, who's level 4, has slammed the Shiv, and yeah, this round is going to be an Asa win. A couple of bodyguards are a little bit too strong for Ezreal to be able to get through.
We got through 1 unit, maybe 2. Yeah,
Okay.
we got 2.
Not bad.
So that could have been worse. But in the early game, what's actually really funny is I think you actually kind of want to lose. If you're going to lose, maybe losing by a lot once is okay because of carousel priority.
Yeah.
But we're still picking second, potentially, right now if we win the tiebreaker. But it looks like we do get a little bit stronger. We get our clockworks in. And this is now a potential round-winning comp. We'll see if that's what happens, though.
Really want to see KPAL make econ here. They've started with a win, then went on a loss, is holding everything on the bench. Their board is strong enough to win some rounds, but not every single round. It's just keeping a lot of stuff open while also at the same time limiting your options in terms of the economy. It's gonna sell a lot here. Yeah, it's kind of like dipping your hand into both baskets, like not really sure of exactly what direction you want to continue with.
Or like there's like a lot of doors, but they're all really small. Right. So
Yeah,
even though there are like 10 doors, you can only fit in 7 of them. Uh,
you're
at
trying
least
to
me
actively fit in
post-quarantine.
7 of them.
That is true. So I took my dog to the vet, and she has only gained 0.2 pounds since last year
Oh.
on the day, and I have never been more upset at an animal in my life.
Upset.
I was like, you athlete, I would kill to have to be able to say that. Yeah, I've only gained 0.2 pounds since quarantine started. Man, I was so mad. She's so athletic, and she just rubs
Oh
it in my
man,
face all the time. If like I fall asleep
crazy.
on the couch, she'll just beat me up. Like she'll
Just
literally just
beat
beat
you
my
up.
face up with her paws to
Try
wake me
to
up.
get you to be, a little bit more active, matching the same pace,
Yeah,
Dog thing. Just
man,
want to have fun.
she's a mutt, and definitely she's pretty much just a giant chihuahua. That's what my life is, because I'm kind of a chihuahua. So, Asa, no, has the Ziggs 3. Are we gonna put it in right now? We're just printing the Yordles. Might be better than a Tristana. Ziggs can hold the Shiv too, so it's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We might just wait too, but Asa, it really doesn't seem like any of our players here are super confident even just printing Yordles sometimes. We haven't seen Asa do it just yet, but we'll see what the results are.
Let's see. This game did start off, by the way, with a only silver tier augment. The Exiles for next, the Thrill for Asa. We're getting some value out of it. Ziggs takes out that first unit. We have Scarab to heal off of as well. There we go. Plus 300. Feels good. The Shiv is fine. Ziggs is an okay carry. Kind of does his job. He's not amazing, but can get the job done in the early game. Especially when you're level 5 board like this.
All right, level 5 board. We get the dub 2. Static Shiv on Ziggs. Again, one of those items that just sounds like it'd be so good on that character if it was able to hit anything.
Yeah.
If it didn't literally look into an eclipse the second it before it came onto the convergence, I think Ziggs would be a little bit better. But yeah, this is actually a very tanky comp, even though they're all tier 1, especially with the Janna here. So the Vec's going to be doing a little bit more damage with the Shiv too, so we'll see if we're going to be able to steal another win. If we see a lot of tanks on the other side, it's going to be a little harder, but they're only tier 1 except for this Echo. This is winnable.
Tier 2 Echo at this point in the game is very strong, especially with a Morello. He's going to apply that to pretty much the whole board here, and the attacks bonuses to his allies. One more ulti goes off as well. The Janna, however, that Janna value, it's going to be really close. Ziggs is going to get a bomb off, and it's going to heal up. And that will be Asa taking the win, but wow, feels really bad to lose the tier 2 Echo with, Morellos and even a Shaco 1 at this point with an item.
Yep, surprisingly tanky is, I think, the name of the game there, as Nextly, one of our newer players, didn't really participate in the old versions of Fight Night, but good to see him in the finals now here. Everyone looking down at Spetham, who is winning the lobby right now. I haven't said the word curse so far, but thank you. If I'm recovering. I'm a recovering curseaholic. But if Spetham does finish last, we'll just go ahead and call it what it is, which is that 8th place curse. For anyone new who's watching, whoever is winning going into the last lobby usually finishes in 7th or 8th. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. I'm sure there is some science to it, but it is very frequent and happens quite a bit, and we don't want that to happen to Spetham because that feels bad. That's something you think about all week. So we'll see if Spetham will do that. He's just now getting to level 5, so was definitely doing some low rolling and losing on purpose. We might be running Mercs, is what that tells me. We are not. So we're just running Innovators.
I think we've seen, actually might have seen one player go Mercs. I think over the course of this weekend. That's like why there was that Jinx 2 and Urgot 2 on early stage 4 or something like that.
There was an Urgot 2 at 3-1 earlier too.
Yeah, that probably was Nico's. I don't think that was Mercs, but the Jinx 2 and Urgot 2 at stage 4 I think might have been Mercs. But besides that, we haven't seen any Mercs. I think players are, after they keep getting nerfed, are just steering clear of them, and I don't really blame them.
No, me neither. Innovators doing that Innovator Crab ult almost helping win this round, but the Echo 2 this time taking the victory, but a little closer too. This the summary of today has been, high cost tier 2 units losing rounds has been kind of the summary of today.
Really has been interesting. Doesn't usually, it's usually not the case, but things happen. Level 1 Raft going for some innovators. Has a clockwork heart here. And a little bit of value alongside that Zillion. The items on the bench are GA components. Giant Slayer on this Heimer. Now, if you're going innovators and you have like this Heimer, Seraphine board, you're gonna want a blue buff for that Heimer. You're gonna want an AP item on him as well. But this might just be a kind of mid-game thing. I think level 1 Raft is not committed to innovators by any means. This could be actually a huge pivot into Jhin with these items as well. I think that would actually be very, very good, especially again considering the clockwork heart.
Oh man, like literally every Zigzolt is a maybe. Every single one of them. That's 0 for 2 right now. We should be, but like some of them are.
It's okay. You won the round.
We won the round. Got a lot of Shiv procs off probably. I think only one ult hit, but we won the round like you said.
Yep. As long as you win, it doesn't really matter. But if you lose, that's when you gotta 9x report Ziggs. Start getting real upset at them. But maybe sell him out of your composition.
It's like he's purposely ulting to not hit anybody.
That's honestly what it feels like sometimes. Because, like, obviously, Ziggs, that unit's gonna die, and other units are gonna walk forward. Just ult something else. Just please, just have.
Or when you have a unit like literally hugging a backline unit but not attacking it.
Yeah.
Right. They turn around and hit somebody else instead. Those are the many frustrating things. But level 1 Raft now. It looks like we've got nice edge. Anytime you see mages in the front 2 rows, that's what that means. And now we have that extra damage, hopefully, helping us out. We have lost our last 4 rounds in a row, so we're probably thinking about changing our fortunes here pretty shortly.
Yeah, and with that Knife's Edge and moving everything to the front row, we know that it's probably not going to be a Jhin pivot, but it is going to be a pivot over to Yone, Urgot, one of the two. Giant Slayer is solid for the Urgot, probably a little bit less valuable on a Yone. I want things like, Runans and Last Whisper alongside that GA. But this is still fine, right? Because right now, this is good enough to win some rounds. If Seraphine especially gets another ult off, might not even need to, though.
GA is going to help win out this round,
yep.
Khroen.
Big GA diff. I like that slam.
Yep, GA's so good at literally most points of the game except for the ultra early game. By the time we get to stage 3, especially once we get past this carousel, GA's value continues to go up, and you're already seeing it. Especially, say you have a slow round, well, GA's going to give you a potential last chance, like with Urgot, for example, right? You get that ult off, Urgot uses the ult, uses GA, takes down 2 to 3 units before they even res. So you're gonna find value out of it. You saw it there. If anything, it's just another meat shield for another carry in certain situations, but value upon value when it comes to the GA, not even just in that round, but probably in future rounds too, as we eke out one more ultimate from a couple of these units.
Yeah. Moving over to Yiggles, who had a very dominant start to the day, but really fell off last game with a 7th place finish. Just going for snipers here. Goes level 7 at 3-5. Rocking 3 innovator, 2 snipers. Ezreal sniper is not bad by any means. Where is she going to go with this, though? Is she going to roll a bit more, or sell for econ, or just leave a lot of options open on the bench? Frozen Heart potential here. Wow, okay. I do like Frozen Heart, actually. As a slam, it mitigates 2 items that you don't really want for a sniper composition, right? Tier not amazing, neither is gonna be a vest.
That Eternal Winter not doing much against a Singed. And again, Frozen Heart, one of the only things that can actually mitigate damage from Jhin, if you're able to get back there. So Ascension,
funny.
Yeah, I was about to say Singed literally just dabbed. On the board. We need that as just an emote now. I will not rest until we get Singe Dab into the game, but we're only 2 rounds away from the PvE round. 6-game win streak for Yiggles. Losing here would be brutal. Even though we're ahead on like the gold, we want to keep our streak going into the PvE rounds no matter who you are. I mean, we probably will be doing it here. I mean, Sniper Ezreal is pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely does a significant amount of damage, especially with upgrading that Trundle as well. That's going to make it a lot more likely to win this round. Vi is upgraded. This board is very strong for end of stage 3. It's not, Urgot 2 strong, but, we can't all have Urgot 2 at the beginning of stage 3.
that lost.
That
Remember,
did lose,
he had that
so,
loss
yeah.
to a Twitch with a locket.
Wild. What game are we playing? I don't
It's
even
2022. Anything can happen, Khroen.
Truly, it's crazy stuff.
When I mean like 2020-2,
Yes.
is what I mean. The redux.
Actually, true.
Yep. This has been the longest 2 weeks of the year. But yeah, that Frozen Heart actually paying out in spades right now. We do win out a 7-win streak. We're going to enter this last portion of the stage 3 feeling really good. Spetham looking like we're running something pretty similar. So if we end up with Spetham Yiggles kind of 1v1, I wonder if one of them will change some things up. One's going to be more sniper related. This one, you know, we still have our innovators. We're close to getting our bear.
Yep.
But this is shaping up to be really interesting. The innovator players, we have a couple of them that have been playing innovators all day, like and Yuki, but now Spetham and Yiggles both playing it, both on fire too.
Yeah, innovators is I think very nice because you can play super flexibly, right? The units are decent in the early game. You can throw a lot of decent synergies in there, right? Scholar you can have with the Heimer. You can throw in Scrap, right, with an Ezreal, have him carry a little bit better. Echo is a great unit. It's working with a lot of good things. Rolling a bit on 7. There's the 5th innovator. We have hit. Spetham, I think, can perhaps keep the streak going, but I don't know. Going to you and Yuki, this is going to be pretty difficult with all these items and the Shaco too.
All right, Spetham, I'm going to ask you a favor. Breathe real quick, buddy. Breathe, right? Because the tighter you are, the more likely you are to make a mistake. And whether that's mental tightness, like making a ton of decisions. We actually saw Asa kind of suffer from that a little earlier with the Imperials. But you got to stay relaxed, right? I've never gone into the final lobby of a TFT tournament on brink of winning it. So I've not ever been here personally, but in other sports and other dynamics that I have been, it always feels counterintuitive, but calming yourself down and being looser is always better in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. Don't want to, you know, if you get all that pressure and it gets to you and like you start changing things up, you start second guessing, but it's just like, no, play the same game you've been playing. That's why you're here out in front, right? About to win.
That's when you like drop wrong items on a unit because you just didn't hold the key long enough, right? Or you press your XP instead of refresh.
Yeah, you feed
right?
a unit to Tom Kench that you didn't mean to.
Yeah, we've seen the best players in the world make those mistakes, and it usually happens in these situations. So it's all about just keeping a clear mind, just like the augment, right? And making it happen for you because, you know, you've got a chance at 55 HP and you're running what the top player is running too. So you're either going to bottom out together or finish on the top together. And if they finish 1-2, Spetham's got this, right? Regardless of the total finish there, as it's going to be Seraphine versus Ezreal, and Yiggles actually takes the L. That's pretty big in the grand scheme of things when you're doing a mirror matchup.
Very much. I did not expect that actually to go that way, but Yiggles is level 8, 40 gold the last round, so is still ahead of Spetham in HP, in gold, and just about everything, right? Even items were very good for Yiggles as well. I mean, if it happens that Yiggles doesn't win on the night just because she had one poor placement on a game, I would feel a bit bad, but Spetham has been very consistent throughout the whole way through and is looking to keep it up here.
You know, it always reminds me of tennis. There's always a debate on what do you reward more, consistency or winning, right? Tennis has such a long season. You compete over a very long period of time, and you can get enough points to be number one without having won a major, for example, right? And I think the same kind of debates happen here in TFT too, which is you might not have won a lobby, but getting second place in all of them, I think you can make an argument that you're the best player, right? And that's just me personally. Everyone can have their own personal opinions, but my opinion on that round was Asa might be in a little bit of trouble, folks, especially if a bunch of people are running these innovators. If Asa's running a comp bad against innovators, you're just not going to beat those comps.
Yeah, no, they're not. And even I think there's been the conversation in the TFT community a lot recently, especially around the Zon Cup of like, what do you want to reward more? And generally, TFT players are like, you know, more games, the better. You're not going to get the full picture of someone's, you know, TFT performance throughout just one tournament, right? Like, that's why players have said that they've loved things like the Giant Slayer series, where it's multiple weeks of competition that you really get to test over the course of different patches and things like that. You'll never get the full story of someone's ability in TFT over just one day of competition. You just can't do it, right? But you gotta start somewhere, right? And with these late night risings, it is only gonna be one day. And a lot of it does come down to, you know, how well you roll on the day, how well you play on the day. But you can still control some of that variance in there, right? You can't always get first, but you still can do as you know, can do well enough to get those top fours and come back each week.
Level 1 Raft trying to get back into the top 4 in this lobby. So far, Fiora has been the best challenger. Even though we have 2 Yones, Fiora has definitely been the better challenger in terms of performance-wise, but this might be a little different. This lobby doesn't seem to be, you know, mad fast right now. The innovators can win out long fights, but these challengers might be a good way to break through them really quickly, especially if any of our innovators get to Innovator 7. And we just saw Spetham, who was destroying some people here, as we see another Fiora would take the dub, this time against Yiggles, as another challenger squad beats the Innovator squad.
Hey pal, 1 HP down there at the bottom. Very, very scary territory. Probably not going to be able to come all the way back on this one, but hey, crazier things have happened before, right? We've seen 1 HP victories and crazy comebacks, usually off the back of things like Mercenaries. Yeah. Okay, pal's board looked okay there. I think it was Lux too, with perfect items. So the potential is there. Lux, I think, is one of the comps that can do it, especially if there are no assassins. I would say no challengers and things that can just get back to the backline very quickly. But like we see on Raft's board, there are challengers, so not fully itemized, however.
And
that's
assassins.
The big difference.
I did see an assassin comp there. Yeah, right
there.
there.
Oh, true.
So.
There's the Shaco player, right?
Yeah.
K-Pal, it's only a matter of time. Or if K-Pal positions very, very well and gets lucky on matchmaking, hey, could do well against it too.
Yeah, I mean, Lux can actually feel like a counter to Assassin sometimes if the first ultimate is good. Other than that, it's over. But she has to get the Assassin who's currently attacking her, and if she doesn't get that in one hit, then it's going to be tough, as Yiggles going to be coming up once again here, this time against level 1 Raft. We definitely are going to be moving that sniper emblem to someone else, maybe? Actually, in the future. We have the Jace to help out with our attack speed, and Yiggle's doing a little bit better against the challengers, but you're, you know, just seeing the challengers just do the damage so much faster that the innovators don't get to kind of pile on that damage, but to win an attrition war if that's the type of game that they want.
Yeah, Yiggles, I feel like, has been on that level 840 gold, same board for the past like 3 rounds. I feel like she was just in like a time stasis there and didn't actually do anything. Found the Jace, I guess, that's about it. But really needs to make use out of those emblems and items and gold, I think. Roll into some Jins, really get that comp going, because it's not really where it wants to be right now, and she is starting to take some big hits. Is a moment of reprieve, right? We do have the final item generating neutral round, at least for components. And some not amazing ones for Raft. But, okay, what does Eagles do here? That's the question. How does she improve her board? Rolls are happening, but not many units are being acquired that are very impactful for her board state. Okay. Ion 2. There's the first Jin probably that she's seen.
This is a great Jin board. Once we get the Scion in, Scion's really good for any backliners that need time. But we still don't have that Jin 2, and we're going to be rocking with the Caitlyn and the Ezreal until we do, most likely. We have time, so it's not like the end of the world, but it could be here soon, as K-Pal might have gotten a friendly matchup here. Does not get the first kill on the ultimate, but does get some resets following that. But we have a Scion, though, so might not be best case scenario now for this Lux. That's going to be a double kill. Scion versus Lux. Lux should take this eventually. Man, that's why Lux is so stressful, just in general. Imagine being Lux player at 1 HP, just being like, all right, we're hoping. That hopium is coming in hard through that hope tank.
Exactly. It's rough. And I kind of get similar vibes from last game's Asa to this game's Yiggles. Like, had such a strong opener, but is just, something's not clicking here. And it might just be the rolls being unfortunate. It might be some of the decisions that Yiggles is making. The items certainly are not great for Yiggles right now, because Jin is only going to have a Last Whisper and no other sword item. In fact, 0 of these items that Yiggles has any swords in them, and that is terrible for Jin.
Oh, this is unfortunate. At least we have the Last Whisper. right? And we have
Yeah.
AP items following that. So Hodge is going to
Hodge
be, what is
Jhin.
that?
Oh,
Like the ultimate conciliatory item in the
yeah,
entire
this is
game,
poor
right?
man's Jhin.
Yep. And so, it's effective, but it's not going to reach the heights as we saw Spetham's Jhin on that last round. So again, you're seeing, okay, Jhin,
Yeah.
but looking at the other side, that's what you want to see.
Yep, Jhin versus the Jhin she told you not to worry about. Like, that's literally that meme right there. That Jhin has perfect items, and yeah, because it did, it was a lot more effective than Yeagles' Jhin. Maybe if she's able to roll into a Jace 2, this can salvage her game. As it looks right now, even with that extra Archangels going into Orianna 1.
This looks a little cooked, not going to lie.
Okay, Ori 2 has to sell one of the Jaces, though. Yeah,
We got pushed off innovators, right? So we saw a couple other people using it. We pushed off of it ourselves, and we've been pivoting for 3 rounds now, with barely to any direction. We have a Last Whisper. Again, that's nice, but there's just so much HP when it comes to the late game. I mean, we needed 2 Jins, the Jeans comp, if you will, for Spetham to take that. Asa now with the double party hat. Now they get CC'd, but it's really just kind of going through the motions at this point for Asa. Sion's going to make things interesting, but we're just kind of delaying the inevitable.
Yep, a couple more seconds, and Victor Laser comes through. That round does not go Yeagles' way yet again. Bet them to go out in 8th, actually. APAL out in 7th. Spetham.
The curse!
Oop, why? Why?
It just always happens. I don't know. It's got to just be because it's the last game and your your mental is all about trying to win, and so you kind of don't think about what happens if you get 8th, right?
Yeah,
and so
I
you're kind of
guess.
maybe just pushing for the win so much that you forget about some of the basics. Innovators were mega contested on this particular round from the very beginning of this game, so maybe that could be it, because both of our innovator players were crushing it and were on fire, and then the second we started watching them, that just wasn't the case anymore. So both Yeagles and Spetham struggling there, but Yeagles had the HP differential, and what's really interesting is if Yeagles just stuck it out with the innovators, we probably tier 3 some of our units because Spetham's elimination.
Definitely possible. Would have been way more likely to, at least. Going up against Within. Within is on 1 life remaining. Has that Infinity Force there from the Portable Forge. Not bad Urgot items, and it is going up against Asa, who only has tier 1 units as their carries, right? Kaisa 1, Victor 1, still strong, however. Can Urgot get through them? And can Mundo be the frontline that he needs to be? Is a Locket, Frozen Heart, Declaw Mundo? He's trying his best. The Urgot gonna get through.
No, the ult! The ult falls in. Within had an opportunity to win out this lobby, and now we might not even make it to the top 4. Yeagles does win out that last round, so it's going to be level 1 Raft, Yeagles, Asa, and Unyuki. So Yeagles has a really great shot of potentially coming back here. So does Asa, who, remember, started printing Yordles and is now in this little bit of everything comp, a smorgasbord, if you will. But this top 4 are feeling good. Yeagles and Asa probably super nervous, and Yuki might have gotten into the top 4. Same with Raft, but it just goes to show how important it is to be consistent. 1/8 place might be all it takes to knock you out, because again, KPAL came into this last lobby with a lobby win in last place. So, well, not last place for the top 8.
Yep. Exactly, and now we get to the point where I really don't know what's going to happen, Boop. There's so many points that can be earned. There's a double the point gap we're used to from just a 4th through a 1st. It's a lot on the line, but we know there's a couple players out in front, and it is Asa and Yuki. Asa continuing the streak and actually is going to be taking out level 1 Raft here, so Yeagles will get at least a 3rd.
I don't think she beats either of these comps that we have here, especially since we've got perfect item gen and we're running the same thing. Potentially. We haven't seen if we pivoted again. That would be the 3rd, maybe even 4th pivot for Yeagles. This looks like it's going to be a 1v1 between Asa and Unyuki, but Yeagles getting 3rd place here, getting themselves a potential win. Asa, though, might be having other ideas, as it's going to be an IE for Unyuki.
Yep. Oh, and oh wow, actually, Boop, Asa and Yeagles only had 1 point separating them coming into this lobby. Yiggles was 1 point ahead. If she drops out in third, Asa will for sure be above Yiggles. Yuki, however, at 25 points coming in this game. Asa 31, Yiggles 32. This is really close.
If Yiggles is somehow able to get second, that'd be almost locking it in.
Yeah.
But to match Spetham's first, that would definitely be locking it in. But we'll
Long way to go, though.
Yeah, long way to go. We got 54 and 59 HP, and then 12. We're going to see a ghost matchup here. Will Yuki be able to take down the Victor? Victor 2 is going to be a huge add-on for Asa, which is absolutely insane to think about the fact that Asa's comp can still get even stronger, especially since it might. Where did the ult go?
Is likely to. I don't know. Yeah, just all right. Yuki taking the loss there, but can Yiggles hang on? It is the Scuffed Jin that actually is able to do so. Takes out Asa.
Woo-wee! All right.
Start.
This is getting into the nitty-gritty. Yiggles taking a win from either of them makes this a true rock paper scissors scenario. The budget Jin, like you said, does have lifesteal, right? So at the end of the game, sometimes lifesteal is what changes things. Now we have a Kaisa to replace our Misfortune, and we are going to be able to redo all of these items. This is like the most stressful augment of all time.
I know. It's very good though. Ice is going to have amazing items. Shojin actually, and Giant Slayer. Okay, all right. I like that. Some more Thieves Gloves. The one goes on the Fiora. Hey, Zizarot, that's going to be a little bit value. Kench printing items. Asa, though. They're going to keep scaling and keep getting stronger and stronger, and Yiggles tries to hang on every single round. Looks like this round's going to go over to Yuki. Asa drops 21 HP.
Oh my god, Budget Jin again. Budget Jin again. Yiggles hanging on. At this point, I think most of us thought that she would be out of here by now, but just a second place over Asa would be enormous for her final standings here. It's going to increase her prize pool regardless, but everyone, I think, kind of looking at Yuki right now. It's really Jin versus Jin that I'm super interested in. I did see some Arcana spats on another board. Locket's going to be very helpful, especially if anyone gets backline access a little early. This should be against Yiggles. We'll see how it goes.
It is going to be against Yiggles indeed. What's going to happen here, Boop? Okay, I mean, the Blitzcrank hook doesn't really get any value because the Jin has a Quicksilver, but this is a full item Kaisa too. Jin, take it down.
That Jin ult was not fun. Ooh, oh, good Scion ult, though. And we just ascended. What? Oh, my goodness. Yiggles
does the impossible again.
Jinx, you owe me a Yiggles. All right, so
Asa wins though.
That's 3 rounds in a row for Yiggles. We are at the probably last carousel that we're gonna see.
Oh yeah,
this is probably one of the most intense games that we have had at Fight Night in a very long time. Yiggles got the Zephyr. And she's already winning. That's the thing. She's winning these rounds with a budget Jin. Who says best in slot is best in slot, folks? In this particular lobby, maybe Yiggles has the best in slot Jin.
Hey.
The lifesteal might be what is the difference maker. We have the Last Whisper. That's nice to have. The Zephyr is just going to help us win more. Because it doesn't seem like either Yuki or Asa have tier 2 their 5-cost units.
Yeah. I don't think they have Asa's. Oh, tier 2 the Tom Kench. That's going to be big. Almost like more scared for Yiggles now that we're on her perspective, because we just like didn't watch and it was like, oh, Yiggles won, but now we're going to be seeing these fights from her point of view here. The Scion, massive. Orianna, she does a ton of damage. The Victor and Kaisa for Asa, however, are still only tier 1, and the Tom Kench gets Zephyred. This is about as good of a start as Yiggles was hoping for.
Oh, and this Jin ult is going to rip through no one. Because it's going to just go through one person. If she goes a little bit to the left where the Yumi was ulting, this might have already been a round win. This ult doing a little bit better. Oh, but the CC is there, but the Jin gets taken down. Report the Jin. I would report this Jin if he was on my Summoner's Rift game. You can't report someone for doing poorly, but I am going to report you for being frustrating. As Yiggles does fall in 3rd place. That was probably the most exciting 3rd place you'll see in a TFT lobby.
Yeah, that was a few very, very hard-fought rounds. Wanted to root for Yiggles there to get that at least top 2. top 2 might have secured it. I don't know. Close nonetheless. Now we are down to Asa versus Yoon Yuki. Asa still looking for upgrades, feeding the Tom Kench every single round. This time it's going to be plus HP. Where does the Shroud hit? That Zephyr, that the Braum from Yoon Yuki, where is that going to go to? Is it going to be a Zephyr on the Tom Kench again? It is.
It is, and the Tom Kench is going to have to get shrouded too, so we're not going to get to the ult unless we get 2 more auto attacks off. We finally do get that ult down, but the Fiora with the Thief's Clubs is super tanky. Remember, we are going to be doing true damage along with that ultimate. Not a lot of damage going through, though. Victor 1, it looks like it is enough for this round.
Oh, gold, items, items. This is Tom Kench at his peak. Needed another Banshee's Claw? Well, no. You have it anyway. Doesn't matter. You get it. Bramble coming through from the neutral item, helping out versus the Yoon Yuki matchup a little bit, right? Because I think an IE is on that board.
Gonna feed Tom Kench just in case.
Oh.
For Shelly.
Be more powerful every single turn. That is really the big boon of running Tom Kench. And these are some fantastic Tom Kench items. In Tom Kench's belly there, that dragon took 6,000 damage, I think.
That's
in
a
just
lot.
the first ult.
Yeah, and we also have things like
disgusting.
Cybernetic that is just going to keep adding to our stats, right?
Yep.
It doesn't seem like we have a lot of tankiness in that unit, but we do, especially with Redemption. If we go up against another Victor, our Victor is probably going to be fine, and it doesn't seem like the Zephyr really matters when it comes to the Tom Kench so far. We have the Arcana Spat as well. Both players running the same amount of synergies. We are going to get the Trap Claw there. Quick switch with the Leona. Let's see if that was enough.
Shroud, what's going to hit? Shrouding each other's main clump there. That's going to be Kaisa and Orion in the backline getting shrouded. The Jhin dodges it, however. Orion ultimate for the first one is decent for Isa. Tom Kench, what power is he going to give? He's going to be eating these frontliners, farming some gold, but it's going to be Yoon Yuki's Kaisa alive in the backline. Can it get eaten? Or no, it actually jumps away. Blitzcrank hooks it towards an Asa.
Whoa!
Takes the massive loss in that fight. Yoon Yuki wins it. Stage 7 is no joke, and wow. Yoon Yuki, a big clutch victory. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to win on the night. We'll have to find out momentarily, but it's at least going to be enough to get into the top 4. So we're going to see both of those players next week for sure.
What a cool day of games, by the way. Yiggles keeping us on the edge of our seat just for 3rd place, maybe, right? Potentially taking a point away from those 2 other players. And, Asa getting 2nd, that might change things. Spetham getting 8th, opened it up for everybody. That's a learning experience, though. You'll probably not see Spetham do that again. If we see Spetham come back for fight night. So that one's going to hurt. That's something you think about. But, that's part of being, an athlete. And we'll see who won our first version of this type of fight night. Khroen?
Rising, let's see. It is Asa by 1 point. Oh, my, these scores are so close. Oh, Asa taking first. Yiggles taking 2nd. Yoon Yuki, even with winning that game, takes 3rd. Spetham wins the 4th place tiebreaker over level 1 Raf, so that will round out our top 4, which will be invited back for next week. But still, shoutouts to everyone who competed and got to the top 8, right? Level 1 Raft, Within, Nexty, and K-Pal all had fantastic start to the day. Even make it to this point, Boop.
Because remember, folks, this is 8 of the 16 players that now participate in each one of those fight nights. But like you said, congratulations to Asa, Yiggles, and Yuki, and Spetham for making it back to next week. They all make money as well, so we'll see if they're going to be able to maintain a top 4 progression going into next week as they enter the top 16 again. They're going to have to have top 4 in the lobby and then get into these game 4 and game 5 once more.
Yeah, and here we have Asa on the line. Asa, congratulations on your victory of the premiere of the new version of Fight Night Rising. How are you feeling?
Yo, it's good. I was pretty sad to lose there at the end, but then I found out I still won overall anyway, so that's really exciting. I thought I was gonna win. I had 300 AP Tom Kench and just like infinite more items, but whoever TTV Yuki, they played really well.
Yeah.
I think they played that last fight like incredibly well.
Yeah, Yoon Yuki played it fantastic, but, got the win. I do want to first ask you about your Imperial game and kind of,
No, that game never happened.
Don't ask me that, Khroen.
Okay, we'll wrap back to that,
Okay,
but
no.
I think it's,
But
yeah, go ahead.
okay, so basically, in my mind, I saw that one of the strongest people in the lobby within had Bramble Vest, so I was just like, okay, I think Challengers is a better cash board. I have a lot of gold to like cap out my board, but I underestimated like my Boomer APM, and even though started rolling during creep round, it wasn't even close to enough time to like make the transition. So I should have just stuck with the assassins.
Okay. Do you think that in a perfect world that Challenger pivot was better? Like, do you think there was still some merit to that line, or just no matter what, you should have stuck with what you already had?
I think if I had like 3 minutes instead of 30 seconds, I think the Challengers is better. Yeah.
Okay.
Because now that like way back in the day, when you sell like 2 stars, you would not get that much gold, but now when you sell a 2 star, you basically get a full refund. So it's just like it's basically like his Challenger or Sin's better, and Challengers is just better. So like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just didn't have the time to do it.
Okay. All right. One more question for me before I pass it on over to Boop. But I just want to get your thoughts on this B patch as well. Things like Imperials were targeted. Do you think that they are still, good and relevant enough to run as, a primary carry composition, or kind of just what are your thoughts on the changes that did occur?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to nerf Imperials. I mean, I think Imperial Crest, like, I think that's still probably like the best possible augment you can get on stage one. I
Mm.
mean, maybe something's better, but like if I get like Imperial Crown stage one, it's like a super pog, so it's like even after it's nerfed, they're just still really strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So my question to you is kind of like what your thought process is going into a game, right? We talk a lot about how you think during the game, but before a game, what is your process like? Are you pretty open to whatever you're going to play? Have you kind of studied the rest of the lobby and gone a certain direction? How do you like to start these games?
Um, so I didn't like study the lobby too much, but I saw in game four, I feel like a lot of people played AD in game four, and also noticed on the carousel that Yoon Yuki was the only person who contested me for tier. And then like in the last game, I had bow, tier, cloak start, and I feel like this is like this is just a decision point, right? Because you can go Runon's Hurricane, or you can go Shiv.
Yep.
And in my mind, I was thinking the lobby was going to be more contested AD, so I went Shiv. And then I scouted on 3-1, and 5 people had an Innovator synergy in the board. And I was like, dude, what's going on? But generally, yeah, I thought the lobby was more weighted towards AD, so I thought ADP would be less contested, so that's why I went Shiv. If I thought it was the other way around, I would go Hurricane there.
Cool. Well, and then my last question to you is, you've obviously your name's been moderately common through the TFT community over the last couple of weeks. You've kind of had a little bit of a moment coming in and winning a couple tournaments. So, what is it like, kind of coming into this community? Everyone knows that you're coming from poker, but coming into the TFT community, finding success, and continuing on here in TFT because you're obviously good at it. What are your plans for the future?
So I started streaming. I think I'm gonna stream like every day, because Jirachi actually like kind of pushed me into it, and I'm really appreciative of them for that.
We all love
But
Jirachi
yeah,
here.
Agreed.
I'm really enjoying it, and everyone in the community is really welcoming. Like I think that's the great thing about TFT, because like you don't have like teammates to blame, so like everyone's just like really positive. I feel like I'm trying to think, like I don't think I've talked to a single person that was not just like really like welcoming, amongst like both like players, just everyone in general. So yeah, it's been great.
Well, that's awesome to hear, and we love having you here too. Your perspective is one that I think a lot of us are super interested in. So yeah, thanks for playing today, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and the last second, if you want any, shout outs, where can we find you on Twitch and Twitter, things of the like before we let you go?
ASA TFT, it's just like ASAH TFT on Twitch. Yeah, that would just be the best place to find me. Shout outs, I mean,
Uh,
just yeah, thanks to Jirachi for pushing me towards the stream. Khroen gave me a big raid yesterday. That was pretty sweet. Got tripled my max view count. Um, and yeah, honestly, like there's too many people to like to think of everyone. But yeah, Giantslayer for
so
hosting
good
these
to
great
hear.
tournaments.
The list can keep on going. It really can. But thank you, Asa, for competing tonight, and congratulations on your win. We will see you here next week to defend your title. Have a good one.
All right, yeah, thank you.
All right, Boop. There it is. The TFT community. We see a lot of people talk, or hear a lot of people talk about the TFT community, and I mean, they're just all right. I mean, they've got some great people. The Jirachi, shout out Jirachi, been doing big things. You know, the casting world recently coming into this space and been really supportive of all the players as well. For sure, 100%. I mean, that's a beautiful thing about the TFT community.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm the scariest part of this TFT community, you know it's a pretty good community. No, it's actually really cool to see. So I actually learned about Asa a month ago because we were in the same in the lobby of a tournament. TQA was in that lobby too, and I was so mad that they were in my lobby because I was like, guess I'm third or less at this point. But you know, it was really cool because he was in my lobby, I kind of tracked his progress throughout the rest of the tournament. It was just solid. Yeah. Really solid thinking, and that type of thought process obviously comes from his background in poker. But you know, in terms of who might be able to elevate TFT in the way that it's thought about, players like him are the ones that come to mind. Not there quite yet, but definitely I think can get there. So Asa, definitely the definition of a rising star.
100%, and you know, we'll see them compete overall in, you know, more sets of competition. Set 6 is pretty quickly coming to an end. We're gonna have like PvE soon, you know, mid sets coming up. This is absolutely crazy stuff that's going on in TFT scene. You know, it's super exciting, but you know, we saw a lot of great competition. Boop, just anything overall besides race, you know, anything else that stands out before we close on out here?
I think we have the top 4 again. One of the things I wanted to say was that the Yiggles and the Asa combo there, it was really whoever finished ahead of the other one that ended up winning, because Spetham, who did end up going into the top 4, got last place in that lobby. So, you know, I'm going to be pretty intrigued to see how Spetham does look next week, because revenge will be on the mind, right? That is going to be on his, it's going to be making him itchy all week. So we'll see what happens.
Especially with this format, I'm looking forward to next week, but we got a little bit, of course, a week's worth of wait until we get there. But this has been Khroen and Boop giving you some more Fight Night Rising, some new Fight Night Rising, and we will see you here next time.